Now, let me introduce our next speaker, Lucy Diep. Actually, you guys are going to be really pay attention to her because she's currently UC San Diego admission officer. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions about a lot of different things. So she's going to explain a little bit about the admission process, especially for UC school, and also what's the difference before and then after a pandemic. So please welcome Miss Lucy Diep.
One of our sister schools. So I'm a big advocate for our UC school system and just kind of paying it forward, coming, full circle and wanting to make sure students at your age seeking and deciding on higher education and how to pursue that further on. So let's go ahead and start. So a little bit about UC San Diego. For location-wise, there are 9 undergrad UC campuses. And we are the furthest one down south in San Diego, more specifically in La Jolla. Beautiful campus. We like to compare it to about the size as 10 Disneyland, which includes California Adventures, so it is fairly massive. And as you know now, the weather here is 90 degrees, very, very hot in LA. But this summer, it's only about up to close to 80, which is wonderful during the summer. So if you're really big on aquatic activities on our campus, we're 10 minutes away from the beach. We also have one of our dormitories a view of our ocean as well. So that's really amazing. So on here, I want to talk about our academics for our campus. If a couple of you in the beginning have picked up one of our Triton brochures, which is in the front, you're more welcome to pick it up afterwards too. But if those who do have it, if you turn over to our second page, there is a list of our majors. We have over 140. It's not going to be on that brochure all of our majors. Some are left out, which also includes our educational studies program. So those are definitely some majors to look at. We also have minors as well. I want you guys to pay attention though on the left-hand side of the screen about our capped majors. So we have about 5 capped majors on our campus. So of course it's going to be more of our STEM backgrounds, a lot of our engineering, which includes civil, mechanical, nano, aerospace engineering are capped. A lot of our biological sciences, like human bio, general bio, is a capped major as well. And what is a capped major pretty much means a lot of students are applying to these majors, but we only have so much room for it. So we are a little more competitive, a little more selective when it comes to that. So just an FYI. For current seniors in high school right now, transitioning to the upcoming year, applying to the UC schools, on the UC application, there are 2 majors you can select. There's a primary and an alternate major. So any of you guys interested in UC San Diego, or any schools actually, within the UC system, we highly suggest for your primary first major, if you're looking into one of these capped majors here for our school specifically, do select that. But capped major, just so that if you have the desire to come to our campus still and you don't really necessarily, I would say, care about which major you're kind of pursuing in a sense, that's something to consider as you're working on your UC application. Okay. On this slide, I'd like to talk about more of our research opportunities and study abroad. With the UC schools, we were built on our research institutions. So all the UC schools are going to have that. And of course, moving forward, a lot of the schools, even like Cal State also, our private schools also have research opportunities. But at our campus, all of our undergrad students can do research. Any major, it does not matter. Whether that's working out in the field or traditionally in a laboratory, that's something you can pursue. So we have an undergrad research hub, or the URH, and we call for short, that you can connect with faculty member to find out the research opportunities, either working with a professor or somebody else in the faculty. Another one too is study abroad. I'm a huge advocate for study abroad. I got to do 8 weeks in Seoul, South Korea for myself, studying abroad. So it was an amazing opportunity. That's something you want to look into. It broadens your horizons, and you still do get college credit as you're studying abroad, as well as different, either internationally or domestically. So those are different programs you want to look into. And their study abroad opportunities can work along with your major, and you'll get credit for that. So this slide I want to spend a couple of minutes on too, because this is the most unique thing about UC San Diego, but the most confusing thing. So we are the only undergrad UC campus that requires first year and transfer metrics for students to rank these 8 colleges on the UC application. So it's going to require you guys to do a little bit more research. In the chart brochure here on the first page, you'll see the different 8 colleges on there, kind of specifying a little bit about our themes. So that is the difference with these 8 colleges. They are thematic based, and each of these colleges have a different theme. Along with that, different educational, general educational requirements. So GE is basically for students, I just put in perspective that if you guys are completing your APG requirements in high school right now, the GEs are kind of like those requirements, but at the college level. So that's kind of how to simplify it, put it that way. So those are the main difference. But everything is going to be the same sense that we have college advising for all students, a lot of school different traditions, student leadership for almost 8 colleges. So that's what's similar about them. And then the college system here, what it really is to give a community feeling for students coming in. We have over 30,000 undergrad students on our campus, so it is very large. So what we like to do is put these students in a college right now. There might be like 5,000 or so in each college. It's a little smaller. You get to learn your community and learn about those students first before you kind of broaden out and learn about the other resources at UC San Diego. I like to compare it actually to like Harry Potter, if you guys are big fans or not. But to put it that way, it's kind of like there's Hogwarts, and then from there it breaks down to different like the houses, so like Gryffindor, Slytherin. Just kind of give it in a sense like that same concept here that we have. So this is a little bit back in our 22-23. So I mentioned that we have over 30,000 undergrad students, and it just breaks down to a percentage of how many first-year students are coming from straight from high school, those coming from transfer, so a different community college, and then a breakdown of our gender as well. And then this is our time to degree for most students. Typically, students coming in from first year will graduate within their 4-year. And then transfer students are just a little bit over 2 years. And I do like to highlight our alumni as well. So we have been founded back in 1960s. So it is a very old institution, similar kind of old institution, right? But that just means that there's resources and networking opportunities for students to really look into that. And staying on our campus, what's great is that last year in 22-23 and moving forward, we announced that we're going to have a 2-year housing guarantee for students. So you'll be guaranteed for your first year and your second year. And if you want to stay on campus for your 3rd or 4th, that might be based on a lottery system. You still kind of apply for that. You just may not get the priority how incoming students might be receiving. So we have in our residential halls, it's a little more unique. We do more of a suite style or apartment style living. The apartment style is exactly what we think of an apartment. It's furnished, it has a kitchen for you to utilize as well. We do have communal restrooms as well. And of course, living on campus is going to come along with a meal plan. So that's something you want to look into. Buffet styles, like how some UC campuses have, or more of like little marketplaces, little cafes, little restaurant areas instead. So getting involved on campus is super important. When you come onto our campus, you're going to be overwhelmed with what the resources that are available. It's kind of hard to find a little niche on there. Like how do you find your home away from home? And that's why I believe that having student organizations or joining them is very important, whether it's just one group for now, the next club after that. It's a way for you to feel involved on campus. A great place to start is once in our college system. Really learn about your college and meet those people in your college. You might get invited out, like, hey, please come to this club with me. I'm gonna go to the orientation. So that's another way to meet. If you're interested in Greek life, we do have sorority fraternities, either multicultural. We also have more health professional, like sorority fraternities as well. If you want to look into for more professional networking. If you're into sports, recently during the pandemic, all of our sports went Division I. We do not have football on our campus, so if you're a big football fan, I'm sorry. We do have basketball though, soccer, volleyball, track and field. And then some campus events I'd like to highlight is our Sun God Festival. It's pretty much like a music festival for our students that takes place during the springtime. We have really great artists in the past, like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, but this past, we had a little more up-and-coming artists as well. And with the attractions, for those who've been to San Diego are probably familiar with like our San Diego Zoo, our Safari Park, but other great areas to check out are like our hiking trails, like Torrey Pines, which is really nearby. So you get the best of both worlds. I feel like at East San Diego, you have the ocean for aquatic activities, but just a little over there, you can go and hike as well. Another thing I like to point out is how do you get around San Diego? So as a current student, you do have access to our Tri-Day Pass. That gives you the ability to utilize the city buses, our tram on campus, anything else. The students, of course, on our campus is very large. There is a bus that goes around campus, so you can utilize that to get easily dropped off or picked up. And students, of course, still choose to walk, bring their bike, skateboard. We also have electric scooters you can rent on campus if you like. I like to highlight some of our resource communities on our campus as well. Some of them being like our Raza Resource Center, which is for Latinx community. We have our Asia Pacific Islander, our Black resource. So these are really just great ways. If you want to feel connected to your community, by like ethnic or race group, please come check one of these out. There's always something going on. They have their own spaces. If it's just a place you need to relax in between classes and don't want to walk back to your apartment or a dorm room, you can definitely do that. What's great too is that some of these resource centers have their own graduations. Like this is a picture of our Raza graduation. The students got their own sashes, their own celebration, on top of their own UC San Diego campus-wide major graduation too. All right, so you listened to about our campus, what we have to offer. Now I want to talk about in this slide, what are the requirements for first-year students. So I do want to kind of go back to our 14, well now 13 factors that we kind of looked at. So for UCs, for our campus specifically, we are looking at a holistic review. So we're looking at other components other than like our academics, but also personal qualities as well. So as the pandemic happened, they reevaluated actually some of our 14 factors. One of them being our test scores. So before the pandemic, they utilized SAT and ACT scores, but now we do not. That's not something that we look at. So it's still optional for some students if they want to take the SAT or ACT. They can satisfy other components, like maybe a math or English exam and moving further up. So that's something you can definitely consider as well. So we're no longer looking at SAT or ACT exams, right? But other factors we're looking at, which I'm going to get into, I want to go back to our A through G courses, which I know the students here are very familiar with, right? You have to satisfy like 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of history. So those are some of the requirements students have to satisfy with a C or better grade. If you have any D's or F's, I highly recommend that you're making that up during a winter session or summer school as well. For your GPA, there is a UC GPA calculated that's based off of your sophomore and your junior year grades. Then it also includes any summer courses you've taken after 9th grade and after 11th grade as well. So that some of those can be factored in as well. And then the personal qualities being like making sure you're active in like your community. So whether that's on campus at school or off campus. So that includes looking at joining clubs, extracurricular activities, sports. We want to see if maybe you're taking leadership roles as well. That is important, so that's something we all see. And it's all something included on your UC application that you can explain and advocate for yourself. So it's very important to showcase yourself on the UC application. And personal insight questions is our form of an essay, although I don't like to call it an essay. It's about 350 words. A prompt, there are 8 prompts, but you only select 4 of those, so it's up to your choosing. Each prompt does vary. It goes from leadership qualities to more of a broader, like why do you believe that you would be a great fit for UC, right? So that's something you want to actually look into, and I think that's why it's so important to get involved now on campus, like in high school if you haven't done so already, or in your community. This does help you be able to write something about yourself and explain to us. And also what the senator was talking about with like your passion too. That helps out a lot, not just joining clubs just for the heck of it and just like putting them on your list, but give us your passion, because you're going to be able to write things, and it's going to be a lot easier for you. So this is our Fall 22 snapshot for our first year students. We had over 130,000 applications, and about 31,000 of those were admitted. So it put this about a 24% admission rate for those students who did come in. We don't have the fall 23 applicant pool available yet. That will be available later this fall and for the public to see. And this, I'm not going to spend too much time on. It's just to let you guys know that if, for whatever reason that you didn't get admitted your first year time around, or maybe money or financial reasons got in the way of paying for like tuition, a transfer is another option for students to go into. It's going to be a whole set of different requirements. We're no longer looking at your high school requirements. We're looking more at your community college level, what you guys do with your grades then. So. If you want to, I know that our Pasadena judge is going to speak more about the transfer route, so that would be really great if you guys want to stay for that and listen to it. So this is just a timeline of what breaks down during the UC application. August 1st, it opens up for students to work on their application, and our submission period is from October 1st to November 30th, and March 31st is when students can hear about, or like by March 31st, is when the release date for admissions will be released for first year students, and then in April for transfer students. So with financing our education, how do you afford our tuition here? So the UC tuition is the same across all the board for all the UC schools. This past year, 22-23 academic year, is around $15,000. It is a lot, it is steep. But just be aware that there is financial assistance kind of depending on your parents' income and how much the income supports. It really does depend. So you have to consider other factors too, like housing and meals, right? Are you going to pay for that? Book supplies, transportation, if you're going to bring a car on campus or not, and other personal expenses like miscellaneous ones that you might want to factor in maybe. So there is actually, like I mentioned, actually I want to go back to this. So our tuition stability plan is something that's new for our UC schools. So it actually gives students the opportunity to pay the same tuition rate for up to 6 years. So for example, you're admitted, you're paying at $15,000, but next year the tuition increases by another $1,000. So it's $16,000 now. But you're actually going to be stuck with paying that same amount that you came in with. So that's a good thing. It kind of helps out with that payment part. I know when I attended my school, the tuition always went up every year. There's a lot of protests on that. So the UC system tried to kind of figure that out for some students. So, applying for financial aid, we utilize the FAFSA or the California Dream Act, one or the other, whichever one you qualify for and you fill out. And that period usually is going to start from October 1st when it opens, and then you submit submission date by March 2nd. So, if you want to find ways of how to support yourself for education instead of like needing to rely on your parents, please make sure you fill out one of these. It's free, you don't pay for it. You're pretty much going to put in like a parent's tax form from like the previous years to see possibly how much you might receive on your financial aid plan for whatever university you get admitted to. So this is just not for UC San Diego, this is for all the UC schools, Cal State's private schools, and community colleges. So do keep that in mind. That's something you're filling out every year though, for the next academic year to receive financial aid. And of course there is scholarships available for students, whether that's with UC like a merit-based scholarship. But also, please apply to outside scholarships. There's so much money out there. Somebody's not really applying, so really look into those. And I am nearly done the presentation. This is just going to be the next couple of slides about some of our tours that are available to students if you want to visit our campus. I know we are having summer campus tours, and then also check out the events that we're going to be having in the upcoming fall. They're also going to be like webinar virtual versions, so if you can't make it down to UC San Diego, please join us on our virtual session. You're still going to get a lot of good information from us, and any updated info that might be updated right now and updated next year. And of course, subscribe to our email list. That's super helpful if you want to learn about when the application opens. This part talks about our tours again that are available to students. If you want to book one with us, you get a presentation along with a guided tour from the student. And this is our social media, so if you want to follow us as well, just keep updated what's happening on campus. And any further questions for us, we have our email and our contact if you like as well. Thanks, Hankook.
질문 있으시면 제가 전달을 해드리려고 하는데 혹시 이 UCL 어드미션 오피서분한테 질문하실 거 있으신지? So you went to UCLA, but now you work for UC San Diego.
Yes, I did. Yes,
right?
I earned my bachelor's from there.
Oh, okay. 질문 혹시 있으신가요? Just for your information, all this presentation we're going to share with you after today's event, right? Yeah. Okay. So
you show all the UC admission requirement of the. It looks like now it's a holistic, admission process, right? So we don't have to submit any standardized test. Then even though I want to, we don't read it at all, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct. So we're no longer looking at standardized testing, but if you do want to take the exam, you're more than welcome to. It's just not something we're going to look at and be like, oh, you scored a perfect 1600 on there straight away, admit it. We do based on, like I said, holistic review. We've been doing that for a while, so it's not only just academic factors like you mentioned, we got to look at personal qualities as well.
Yeah, also, so you list out the some of the components from the top, and I shall go back to the chart. Yeah. So basically, you put based on importance, the academic rigor achievement is #1 factor you consider for the admission. Can I say that?
No, actually, sorry. Yeah, it's not listed on like top priority. It's just listed like as kind of random.
Yeah, because the things like now there's a lot of controversial talking among the students and parents. As you know, there are so many public schools, so many private school, charter school, or boarding school all over the place. Now each school has a different a rating system. All their GPA is not really match to match. Some schools it's really hard to get the GPA. Some schools is much less competitive. So how do you guys manage that part?
Yeah. So part of those factors too within 13 is also like school context. So we do look at it by your school too. So whether that be like more of a low-income school, right, or more of the top-tier schools as well, it's something we have to consider in terms of the ranking. And also we look at like what kind of APs or like honors they have on campus as well. Sometimes there's some that have less. There are a lot that have a lot of opportunities for students to enroll in as well. So that's something to look into.
Sometimes some schools, some areas on the basically not a rich area, very underrepresented area. So that kind of school, still you guys have any extra point incentive?
Not really an extra point, no. It's not like, oh, because you come from there, you're going to be admitted like right away as well. But it's just kind of like that school contacts that we give to. Another one too is that we look into is like our top, our UCELC. So like eligible by the local contacts. So if you're like a top 9% in a graduating class, you'd be admitted to UC campus. Now that doesn't mean though, if it's one of the schools you apply to, you might be admitted to maybe a school that you didn't apply to, but you're just guaranteed into a UC school at least if you're top 9%. And you get that letter usually by during the summertime, so you can see if you're eligible for that or not.
Let me just stop there. 한국말에 그 UC는 지금 그 스테이트에서 돈을 내기 때문에 여러분들 고등학교 졸업할 때 9% 안에 들어가시면은 UC 그 스쿨의 개런티가 돼요. 근데 그 뜻은 뭐 내가 원하는 UCLA나 UC 버클리가 다른 게 아니라 어딘가에 UC 시스템에 가실 수 있다는 거를 확인해주고 편지가 가는데 대부분이 저 UC 컨트리 쪽에 많이 걸려요. 그러니까 first tier 말고 second tier나 third tier 같은 것으로 참고하시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
Thank you for that great talk, Lucy. I have a question about, are you allowed to talk about admission review process? As I know that, different schools to serve in the format. For UC San Diego, can you talk about how the review process goes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can't fully go into detail how it really works, but I want to let you guys know that your application is reviewed by 2 admission officers. So it does get that view as well. But I can't go fully into detail exactly where it goes. But it is reviewed fully with 2 admission officers at least, and kind of depending where that is, it might go into like a 3rd read as well.
So Brian said are there specific factors that are ranked sort of most important to you, less important?
You know, there isn't the top like preference necessarily, but you have to make sure you're meeting like those minimums at least. So for the UC schools, we're looking at least a 3.0 GPA to be eligible to apply. We're also looking at your completion of your A through G requirements, but also maybe going above and beyond that. So some students choose to do like a dual enrollment course, so they'll go to community college, take some courses, enroll in your AP classes, your honors programs, and also like your involvement too. I have seen a couple students, you know, on their extracurricular tabs, or like work experience and such, maybe it's like blank or not that much, versus some students who are definitely taking full advantage of listing out like my volunteer work, community service work, my leadership roles in that. It just shows how active you are on campus. So really make sure you are bragging yourself on the UC application. That's not the time for you to feel like it's nice to be humble, but at that point you should start bragging about yourself and your personal insight questions. Really talk about the qualities and what makes you a really good fit for the UC schools.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes.
Just two quick questions. One is for your CAP major. Do you guys have different? Okay, I've seen that GPA, average GPA earlier in one of the slides. Is that the GPA for also capped majors, or do you have for capped ones like different sort of GPA for those majors?
Yeah. So this is actually just our fall 22. Let's see, our fall 22 applicant pool. So the average was about a 4.1 to a 4.3. So it's fairly high. But that doesn't mean that students who had below that GPA weren't admitted as well. We're just kind of averaging out for students to see. But I don't want this to be ever discouraging to students, because we have admitted students who don't fall with having 4.0.
So if you're shooting for one of those highly selective majors, like those capped majors that you talked about earlier, would that be a higher GPA requirement for those majors if you choose them, or
there
not
isn't.
necessarily?
Just the minimum is a 3.0. So I can't really attach like a capped major with a certain GPA. There isn't like an association with that necessarily. But of course, you know, our capped majors, because we are looking at it more competitive and selective, the benefit of having a higher GPA is going to be helpful, I would say.
One other question. So I do understand that you guys prefer 3 years of foreign language at least, or
Say that again, sorry.
foreign language?
Yes.
Like 4 years. Is it 3 years preferred, or if you do everything equal, is fourth year foreign language helpful in terms of admissions?
No, so we're looking at 2 years as minimum for students to complete right here in California. 3 years recommended, but for students who complete like a fourth year, foreign language, for example, is like putting them top preference. But we do see that you are taking advantage of that, and maybe you actually really like have a passion to learn about the language, and also going like if you're pursuing a further language like third or fourth year, actually might help you be exempt from taking a language course at the UC system. So that's something you might want to consider as well. It's better. But it shows you going above and beyond your A through G requirements and completion. Yeah, you're welcome. I'll turn it back to them.
Think of any later, so she's going to be with us for a while. So our next speaker is I'm going to invite Wonjong again, President of 라디오서울 and 한국Tv.
시간이 많이 된 것 같아서 파이낸셜 얘기를 나중에 시작할게요. 제가 오늘 커버할 거는 두 가지 같아요. 그래서 개인적으로 좀 말씀을 드리면은 저는 뭐 지금은 안 하지만 몇 년 전까지는 스탠포드 알umni 인터뷰를 했었어요. 그래서 학교 일에 좀 관심이 많았고, 그 다음에 비영리 단체에서 학생들을 티칭하고, 그 다음에 뭐 도와주는 일들을 취미삼아 하는 게 제가 관심이 있어서 이런 그 교육 세미나도 저희가 시작을 하게 됐는데, 오늘 아까 그 UC 얘기를 잠깐 해서 궁금하신 것 같아서 말씀을 좀 드릴게요. 제가 알기로는 UC는 이렇게 생각하시면 돼요. 지금은 이제 올해 같은 경우 아이비리그에 붙은 사람이 UCLA나 UC 버클리 떨어지는 애들이 생겨요. 이미 생겼어요. 되게 많은 변화가 있다는 거예요. 그러니까 뭐냐면 홀리스틱이라고 하는 그 전체를 다 보는 홀리스틱 어드미션을 시작을 했어요, UC가. 왜냐면 너무 많은 사람들이 오고, 그 다음에 또 중요한 거는 지금 이제는 그 SAT 점수를 보지 말라고 하기 때문에 결국은 우리가 성적, GPA 이런 것들이 제일 중요한 요소가 SA가 중요한 요소가 되기 때문에 소위 말하는 그 사립학교의 어드미션과 아주 유사해졌어요. 특히 UCLA나 UC 버클리, 그다음에 UC 얼바인 같은 경우는 그렇다고 보시면 돼요. 그러다 보니까는 준비를 잘못하면은 학생들이 떨어져 나가요. 그냥 실력이 나빠서가 아니라. 그래서 하여튼 그런 부분들은 뭐 나중에 시간이 되면 좀 말씀을 드리겠지만은 만약에 지금 UC를 준비하시는데 학생 중에서는 아마 그럴 거예요. 지금 여기 혹시 그 하이스쿨 스튜던트 있으면 손 좀 들어주시겠어요? 하이스쿨 스튜던트? 부모님도. 그럼 미들스쿨? 미들스쿨이 아무도 없나요? 제가 이거 왜 물어보냐면은 지금은 이따 우리 닥터 김이 좀 하겠지만 요즘은 대학교 준비를 미들스쿨부터 하셔야 돼요. 어쩔 수 없이. 왜냐하면 얼마나 많은 오랜 기간 동안 어느 정도 깊이까지를 하느냐가 되게 중요하기 때문에요. 그리고 부모님들이 만약에 내가 지금 11학년이다, 12학년이다 그러시면 이미 시간이 많이 늦었어요. 그러면 내가 어떻게 준비하는 게 좋은지를 갖다가 계획을 잘 세우셔야 돼요. 지금 다시 다 고쳐가지고 하기 늦었기 때문에. 그리고 제가 시작하기 전에 하나 더, 혹시 여기 사립학교 다니시는 분 손 들어주시겠어요? 학생이 사립학교. 오케이. 다른 공립학교 다니시는 거죠? 오케이, 좋습니다. 그러면 전국 오신 분 중에서 그 인문계열을 그 학생이 지원하고 싶다. 휴머니티. 그러면 아니면 스템, 공학이나 엔지니어링이나 이런 걸 했으면 좋겠다. 네. 그럼 아직 잘 모르겠다. 아니, 손 드시는 분이 이렇게 두 분밖에 안 계세요. 그래서 여쭤보는 게 이게 지금 제가 이런 말씀을 왜 드리냐면 오늘 제가 드리고 싶은 내용들은 제가 오디미션 인터뷰도 하고 이러면서 그 사람들이 과연 어떻게 보는지를 말씀드리려고 해요. 그래서 그걸 아시는 게 되게 중요해요. 그리고 아까 데이비님이 한 것도 그게 있기 때문에 그것도 이어서 말씀드리겠지만 아마 지금 제일 중요한 게 지금 3년 계획을 짜셔야 되거든요. 근데 요즘 아주 탑스쿨을 가시는 분들은 보통 5년 계획을 짜세요. 5year, 그렇지 않고 3년 계획. 근데 이 3년 계획을 애들이 짤 수가 없어요, 학생들이. 엄마도 부모님이 같이 안 하시면 절대 못 짜요. 5년 계획은 더 심하고요. 근데 말은 되게 거창해 보여요. 이게 무슨 3년 계획이냐 5년 계획이 그렇지만은 그때서부터는 우리가 어렸을 때 시작을 하면은 그 공부보다는 다른 엑스트라 커리큘럼을 준비할 시간들이 많아져요. 그리고 조그만 거라도 씨를 뿌려서 지금부터 준비를 하셔야 돼요. 그래서 그때는 어쩔 수 없이 부모님의 역할이 되게 중요한 게 아이들이 아직 할 수 있는 거 아들한테 물어보세요. 야, 너 좋아하는 게 뭐니? 그러면 저 게임하고 싶어요. 유튜브 하고 싶어요. 인스타 하고 이런 얘기밖에 안 해요. 그리고 대부분이 요즘 칼리지 어플리케이션 쓰면 애들이 취미생활 쓰라고 그러면 그런 것들을 되게 많이 자기의 액티비티라고 리스트아웃을 해요. 근데 그런 사람들이 상당히 많은 부분이 아시안 학생들, 특히 한국 학생들 사이에서 되게 많이 나타나요. 그리고 아니 프로 게이머가 되겠다 이런 얘기도 많이 쓰고 실제로 프로 게이머가 되는 건 쉽지 않아요. 저도 옛날에 게임 회사를 해봤겠지만 게이머가 되려면 처음에 하루에 8시간 게임 테스터를 해야 돼요. 찾아내고 그렇지 그게 그렇게 재밌는 작은 아닌데 사람들이 쉽게 생각하죠. 그래서 하여튼 중요한 거는 계획이 되게 중요하다. 계획을 잘 하시면 좋은데 지금서부터 저는 제가 좀 이따 학생들 좀 설명을 아마 보내드릴 텐데 example을 고등학교 1학년서부터가 되게 중요하다고 봐요, 저는요. 지금 혹시 고등학교 1학년에 다니는 학생 있으세요? 고등학교 2학년이면 Hey, don't be shy. Senior or freshman? 또 들어보세요. What grade are you? 오케이, sophomore. 예, 좋습니다. sophomore도 그렇고 되게 중요한 시점인데 이런 학생들은 지금 어머님이 고생이 어디 가서 인턴십을 할까? 뭘 할까 고민을 하실 거예요. 요즘 하이스쿨 인턴십이 없으면 좋은 대학 가는 게 힘들어졌어요. 어쩔 수 없이. 그래서 되게 많은 분들이 하이스쿨 인턴십을 찾으려고 노력을 하세요. 제일 먼저 하는 게 뭐냐면 아빠한테 얘기해서 사모님이 그러시죠. 아버님이 아는 사람한테 부탁을 해요. 아는 무슨 병원이나 아니면 아는 무슨 로스쿨이나 아니면 회사에 가서 인턴십을 시켜요. 근데 그런 걸 하시면 시간 낭비에 아무 의미가 없어요. 왜냐면 애들이 잘하든 못하든 자기가 뭔가 연습을 해야 돼요. 실제로 벌어졌던 일들인데 제가 도와줬던 학생 하나가 되게 착해요. 착한데 이제 인턴십을 하고 돌아다니다가 우연히 그 동네에 붙어있는 빌보드에 뭐 어디에서 인턴십 하는 붙은 찾은 거예요. 그래서 이제 봤는데 어플라이 했는데 실제로 그 인턴십은 작년에 익스파이어가 됐어요. 지금 없는 인턴십이에요. 근데 되게 연구를 많이 해서 이메일을 계속 보낸 거예요. 나 인턴십 하고 싶은데 했더니 그 사람이 이제 하도 재밌으니까 오라고 인터뷰를 했어요. 사실은 익스파이어 됐지만은 너한테 기회를 주겠다 해서 작지만 실험실에 가서 뭐 비거 닦는 일을 시작을 한 거예요. 그 학생이 어떻게 됐냐면 시간이 지나서 그 인턴십을 3년, 4년을 했어요. 고등학교 졸업할 때까지. 그리고 결국은 그걸 토대로 논문을 쓰고 그 논문의 종저자가 돼서 여러분들이 되게 어머님들이 좋아하시는 스탠포드에 들어갔어요. 그건 하나의 에스펙트예요. 근데 그 친구가 그렇게 열심히 웃긴 것도 이 고등학생이 이제 뭐 왜냐면 고등학생을 인턴을 시키면 별로 시킬 일이 없어요. 접시 닦는 거 아니면은 이렇게 앉아가지고 뭐가 변하는 거 이렇게 찾아보는 걸 시켜요. 너 이거 보고 있다가 우리 밥 먹고 올 테니까는 여기서 바뀔 때 그때 시간한 걸 적어라. 그러니까 그 친구는 계속 앉아있다고 했는데 실제로 그 랩에서 그거를 성공한 사람이 한 명도 없었어요. 뭐가 바뀌었는데 바뀌는 시간을 찾은 사람이 한 사람도 없는 거예요. 다 왜냐면 어른 학생들, 대학원생들은 어디 가니까. 근데 이 친구는 너무 열심히 그걸 보고 있다가 뭐 12월 20 며칠 날 밤 10시에 바뀌는 시점을 찾아낸 거예요. 그래서 그때 데이터를 적고 그래서 처음으로 그 랩에서 그 결과가 나왔어요. 뭐 그런 것들 되게 작은 일이지만은 학생들이 할 수 있는 걸 찾기 때문에 이 얘기의 요점 뭐냐면 내가 뭐 주위에 있는 UCLA나 칼텍이나 뭐 이런 데다가 인턴십을 어플라이 하는 게 가능할까? 되게 가능해요. 그러니까 공부를 열심히 하셔서 어머니하고 앉아가지고 이 학생들이 좋아하는 학교에 교수들 이메일하고 그 사람의 메이저가 뭔지 그리고 뭘 찾는지를 계속 보시고 한 몇 개월 동안 편지를 보내보세요. 만약 그래서 인턴십을 안 준다고 그러면 저한테 얘기해주세요. 반드시 와요. 인턴십은. 왜냐면 그런 사람이 필요해요. 학생들의 열정과 순수함과 계속적으로 뭔가 디보트 할 수 있는 애들을 고등학생들이 찾아요. 근데 이걸 시작도 안 하는 거예요, 전부 다. 그건 너무 안타까운 일이고 그 다음에 이제 사실 뭐 저도 시간이 없어 할 건 너무 많은데 그 다음에 이제 제일 중요한 게 이런 거예요. 아까 그 UC 시스템 얘기했지만은 지금 만약 여기 오셨는데 내 애가 12학년이야. 근데 UC에 못 갈 것 같아. 못 갈 것 같은 게 뭐냐면 UCLA나 UC 버클리는 보통 에버리지 GPA가 4.2에서 4.3예요. 그러니까 학교에서 공부 제일 잘하는 애들이에요. 그냥 all A student. 세컨드 티어로 들어와도 4.4.1, 4.2 그래요. 그러니까 사실 UC는 지금 first tier, second tier 이런 게 별로 의미가 없는 게 학교에서 1등, 2등을 해야 돼요. 그래야지 UCLA, UC 버클리, UC 얼마이를 가요. 근데 재밌는 게 학교에 좋은 학교에 들어가는 게 목적이 아니에요. 여러분들 그걸 잊어버리셔야 돼요. 좋은 학교에 들어가는 게 목적이라고 세우셨으면 정말 잘못 생각하시는 거예요. 지금서부터 시작해서 내가 학교에 들어가는 이유는 좋은 좌업을 갖는 거기 때문에 그 과정은 아까 데이비 미니한 거 똑같은 얘기예요. 시작이 어떤지 아무 중요하지 않아요. 여러분들 하버드 가고 스탠포드 들어가 보세요. 입학하시면 들어가는 순간에 한 6개월 동안 좋아요. 그리고 그때 들어가면 전부 다 하버드 학생이고 전부 다 스탠포드예요. 거기 가서 뭐 내가 스탠포드 나왔다 들어갔다 좋아하는 사람 아무도 없어요. 동네에서만 좋아하겠지만. 근데 여러분들 훌륭한 얘기를 들어보신 적이 별로 없어요. 왜냐? 우리의 목적은 그냥 스탠포드, 하버드 모자를 하나 쓰고 자동차에다가 편리들 다는 게 목적으로 생각하시는 분들이 많으세요. 야, 이것만 해. 그럼 넌 아무것도 할 게 없어. 들어간 다음에 서바이브가 안 돼요. 왜냐면 거기는 전교 1등이 아니라 아이비리그 플러스라고 그러죠. 아이비리그 플러스 MIT 스탠포드는 2만 명밖에 안 뽑아 1년에 2만 명. 근데 미국의 고등학생 시니어가 몇 명인지 아세요 혹시? 아시는 분? 이거 아셔야 돼요. 고등학생 시니어가 3.5 밀리언이에요. 그러니까 아이비리그 플러스에 들어가는 사람들 계산을 하면요 0.57% 이래요. 그러니까 여기 지금 아까 그 유펜에 들어간 학생 있잖아요. 우리 오늘 학생인데 그런 친구 같은 경우는 펜에 들어간 친구는 정말 부모님이 자랑하고 다니셔도 돼요. 왜냐면 많이 유펜이지 거기 들어가는 거는 로또 맞는 거하고 어려운 거예요. 0.57의 그런 치열함을 들어간 학생들이기 때문에 그러면은 이게 산수적으로 불가능한데 가능할까? 가능해요. 방법이 있어요. 그러니까 유시 같은 경우도 12년에 늦었으면 구태여 무리하지 마세요. 제일 좋은 건 사라모니카 칼리지나 처음엔 좀 체면은 안 쓰지만 제일 강력한 그런 커뮤니티 칼리지에 가서 공부를 하시면은 캘리포니아는 범으로 돼 있어요. 몇 퍼센트는 무조건 유시에 받아줘야 돼요. 그래서 사실 늦게 시작해서 애가 옛날에는 말 안 듣고 게임하고 놀다가 10일하면 10일하면서 공부를 되게 열심히 하는 거예요. 근데 하다 보니까는 이미 저지른 상처를 고칠 방법이 없는 거예요. 그럴 때는 그냥 걱정하지 마시고 그냥 조금 LACC나 사나브리카 칼리지 보내세요. 거기서 공부 잘해요. 그러면 UCLA에 트랜스퍼를 할 수가 있어요. 아주 편하게. 사실 아무 의미가 없어요. 그냥 UCLA에 들어가서 내가 원하는 전공을 하지 못하고 뭐 이상한 인기 학과가 아닌 그런 전공을 한다고 하면 아무 의미가 없어요. 물론 부모님이 내 아들이 UCLA에 나왔으니까 난 그걸로 만족하다라고 생각하시면 괜찮아요. 그리고 뭐 평생 그냥 월급 주고 월급 주면 괜찮은데 그게 아니시라고 그러면 그런 생각을 버리세요. 그리고 나서 그러면 요즘 대학을 졸업하잖아요. 어디 대학을 졸업해도 갈 데가 별로 없어요. 죄송한 얘기지만 제가 아는 주위에서도 뭐 스탠포드 나오고 MIT 나오고 이렇게 언도를 딱 나와도 잡이 별로 없어요. 특히 뭐 전공이 STEM, 그러니까 사이언스, 테크놀로지, 엔지니어링, 메디칼이라고 해도 잡이 별로 없어요. 왜냐하면 그만큼 1년에 쏟아내는 언더 애들이 너무 많기 때문에. 그리고 잡이 이제는 계속 바뀌고 있어요. 잡이 바뀌어요. 우리 엄마 그러잖아요. 딱 보다 야 신문에 보니까 한국에 나왔어. 지금 돈 제일 많이 버는 게 저 무슨 블록체인하고 뭐 이런 거래. 전부 다 이제 블록체인 뭐 크립토커런시 아니면 바이오텍 해요. 4년 뒤에는 바뀌어 있어요. 그 4년이 갭이 생기는 거예요. 또 심지어 그게 더 빨리 바뀌어요. 대학교 들어갔더니 이거 그거 아닌데 전공을 바꿔야 돼요. 아무 준비가 없으니까. 이런 것들이 너무너무 무서운 현실이에요. 그래서 제가 드리고 싶은 말씀은 좋은 기왕이면은 좋은 대학 가면 좋아요. 그렇지만 들어가는 것 자체는 아무 문제가 안 되고 졸업을 하고 좋은 과를 갖는 게 되게 중요하다. 여러분들이 이제 대학을 졸업하시고 나서 이제 어쩔 수 없이 대학을 갈 수밖에 없는 이유 중에 하나가 대학에서 인턴십을 찾는 것도 어려워졌어요. 대학교 2학년서부터 인턴십을 못 찾으면은 좋은 학교에 회사에 못 들어가요. 근데 대학교 2학년은 사실 우리 친구들 가가지고 돌아가고 매일 파티하고 뭐 수업하고 놀고 보다 1학년이 금방 지나가요. 그리고 나서는 나중에 갑자기 친구들이 인턴십을 찾는데 자기는 못 가는 거예요. 3학년 인턴십을 못 가요. 그러면은 99% 잡을 가질 확률이 없어져요. 어느 좋은 학교에도. 그게 뭐 예일이 됐든 프린스턴이 됐든. There's no excuse가 없어요. 그냥 그만큼 사회가 경쟁적이기 때문에. 그래서 가장 좋은 거는 제가 뭐 저희 아들도 그렇고 제 주위에 계신 분들한테 애들한테 계획을 세우는 방법을 세우자. 무조건 계획을 세워주셔야 돼요. 부모님이 같이 앉아서 플랜을 세우고 그 플랜을 실행하는 방법들을 가르쳐 주셔야 돼요. 그래서 조금이라도 성공을 하셔야지 애들이 힘이 생겨요. 애들이 대학 가면 제일 힘든 게 뭐냐면 책을 못 읽어요. 책을 못 읽는다는 게 심각한 문제가 생겨요. 시험을 봐야 되는데 이 책을 못 읽는 거예요. 맨날 게임만 하고 유튜브만 보고 틱톡만 보고 이러다 보니까는 리딩 스킬이 너무 떨어져 버리는 거예요. 그러니까 뭘 하냐면은 뭐 어디 가서 구글 해가지고 테스트 프랩하는 거 이런 거 보고 이렇게 공부를 해요. 그러다 보니까 점점 실력이 떨어져서 실제로 대학을 졸업해서 회사에 가면은 뽑지는 못해요. 요즘은 좀 실리콘밸리의 그 기업들이 뭐 해고도 많이 하지만 실력 있는 사람 많이 뽑는데 그 사람들이 뽑는 과정이 뭐 4단계, 5단계 인터뷰를 해요. 여러 가지로. 근데 뭐 감당이 안 되는 거예요. 그나마 대학교 다닐 때 인턴십을 많이 하고 디스플레인 된 사람들은 가능해요. 그래서 어렸을 때부터 부모님들은 제가 생각하는 게 작은 거라도 계속 계획을 세워서 주셔야 돼요. 미션을 주고 그 다음에 그 월 단위, 주 단위, 일 단위로 다 스케줄을 하셔야 돼요. 만약에 월 단위, 일 단위, 주 단위로 하시는데 일일 계획을 세우시는 분들은 분명히 애들은 아이비리그에 가요. 지금서부터 만약 내가 9학년인데 지금부터 데일리 스케줄을 만든다? 그럼 거기에 자기 학교 스케줄, 시험 보는 거, 그 다음에 엑스트라 커리큘럼, 스포츠 뭐 하다 보세요. 집에서 뭐 아버지 도와주는 것까지 다 스케줄하는 친구들은 아이비리그에 갈 수가 있어요. 위클리 하는 친구들은 위클리 플랜만 해도 뭐 한 2티어, 세컨티어까지 갈 수 있을 거예요. 왜냐하면 이게 대부분 학생들이 특정한 기간 동안 엑스트라 커리큘럼이라는 게 3년이고 4년이고 5년 동안 열심히 해서 계획을 세우고 실행하는 힘들을 계속 해서 자기가 성취감을 느껴야 되는데 그걸 하는 학생들은 무조건 성공해요. 개런티가 돼요. 그럼 어떤 분들이 이런 얘기 하시죠. 아니 그러면 계획을 잘못 세워가지고 우리가 이렇게 아버지하고 어머니 앉아서 계획을 막 세웠어요. 근데 이거 잘못됐으면 어떻게? 그런 거 없어요. 왜냐하면 대학에서 보는 거는요. 이 사람들이 어떤 계획을 플랜을 짜가지고 공부가 아니잖아요. 플랜을 짜서 엑스큐션하고 계속해서 몇 년을 하면은 그 과정에 프로세스가 생기고 그 과정에 성과가 나오고 잘못되면 고치는 일들을 계속하게 돼요. 그런 것들 자체가 되게 큰 밸류로 찾아요. 그래서 그런 부분들도 꼭 했으면 좋고 또 항상 그렇게 자신감을 가지세요. 아까 뭐 아이비리그 들어가는 거, UCLA 들어가는 게 하늘이 벌떡이라 그러는데 실제로 우리 주위에 들어가요. 오늘 여기 두 학생이 와 있어요. 유펜에 얼리에 간 친구랑 코넬에 들어간 친구들이 들어보면 알겠지만 평범한 친구들이에요. 근데 그분들도 계획을 세워서 열심히 해서 아이비리그 들어갔어요. 부모님들 얼마나 좋아하시겠어요. 뭐 동네에 떡이가 돌리셨는지 모르겠지만 하여튼 근데 이 두 학생들은 공통점이 있어요. 밤만 게임을 안 해요. 지금 애들 조금해서 물어봤더니 게임에 관심이 별로 없어요. 벌써 자기들이 하고 싶은 거, 대학 가서 할 것들 리딩하고 그런 걸 하고 있어요. 그냥 플랜을 하는 거예요. 이거 학교 가면 뭐 힘들겠지, 뭐 해야 되겠지, 그걸 알고 있는 거예요. 근데 그 버릇을 일찍 시켜줘야 돼요. 죄송한 얘기지만 제가 방송에서 맨날 아버님도 오라고 그러는 게 이게 아주 전형적인 내용들이에요. 그냥 아버님들은 열심히 일한다. 이렇게 어머님들도 열심히 학생을 도와. 그리고 시간 딱 되면 픽업해서 방에 갔다 오면 야 빨리 공부했다. 이스케로 밖에서 TV 보시거나 모바일 뭐 핸드폰도 보고 보시죠. 근데 사실 저는 그게 되게 나쁘다고 생각해요. 내가 만약에 욕망이 있어서 우리 아들을 위해서 우리 딸을 위해서 좋은 대학을 보내야 되겠다. 그러면 같이 파티시페이션 하셔야 돼요. 우리 그 학생들이 뭐 10학년, 10학년 등치는 그거 어른 같지만 그렇지가 않아요. 실제로 틈만 나면 부모님을 속여요. 뭐 숙제 했냐고 했다고 그래요. 자세히 공부도 안 했어요. 뭐 했냐고 또 그리고 뭐 있냐고 그러면 안 해. 그런 일들을 자꾸 반복적으로 해요. 왜냐하면 욕망이 많기 때문에. 근데 부모님들은 주말 되면 나는 골프 치러 가야 되고 너 이거 하니까 집에서 뭐 해라. 될 리가 없죠. 저는 그게 되게 제 주위에 성공하신 분들은 부모님들이 대부분 다 취미생활 그만두셨어요. 대학교 갈 때까지. 어쩔 수가 없어요. 그렇게 하고 애들이 뭘 하는지 관심을 갖고 옆에 앉아서 몰라도 물어봐 주기도 하고 이렇게 서로 상호 커뮤니케이션을 계속 하시는 분들은 반드시 성공을 하니까는 그걸 꼭 좀 지켜주셔서 하는 개인적인 당부고 명문대학에 갈 때 아까 좋은 점이 있어요. 왜냐면 대학 입시가 이제 성적순이 아니게 바뀌었어요. 겉으로는 그냥 어퍼머티브 액션이라는 게 쫙 생기면서 이제 폐지되면서 이제 뭐 동양 애들 SAT 만점 받고 GPA perfect, it's not everything 이렇게 얘기하는 거예요. 그러니까 어떻게 보면 좋은 점도 있고 나쁜 점도 있어요. 좋은 점은 뭐냐면은 내가 그렇게 퍼펙트한 환경에서 GPA 떨어지고 SAT는 어떤 애들은 이상하게 성적은 좋은데 SAT만 보면은 점수가 안 나와요. 널브스해가지고 되게 많아요. 생각보다 한국 애들이. 근데 그런 애들이 사실 공부를 되게 잘하는 애들이 많아요. 또 되게 진지하고 SAT는 순간적인 순발력과 머리 그리고 임기응변 또 이런 좀 너트가 있어야 되거든요. 이제 그런데 그걸 잘 이용하면 여러분들이 원하는 좋은 대학이가 명문대학이 성적순으로 안 보는데 그럼 내가 어떻게 그걸 이용할 것인가? 어떻게 활용할 것인가를 전략을 짜셔야 되는 거고 반대로 이제는 나는 그래도 내가 내세울 게 성적이 최고야. 일단 SAT 무조건 보고 AP도 잘 보고 점수도 좋아. 그러면 전략을 바꾸셔야 돼요. 그래? 그럼 나는 뭐 홀리스틱 뭐 어드미션 오케이 I'm competitive로 갈 거야 라고 자기 자신을 밀어붙일 수도 있어요. 그래서 그 두 패스가 쫙 달라져요. 처음서부터 어떤 친구는 뭐 갔는데 특별하게 전공도 정하지 않고 메이저 없이 들어왔는데 아이비리그 들어왔고 어떤 친구는 그렇지 않아요. 이래서 MIT나 이런 데 들어가요. 근데 이거 자세히 보면은 걔 그런 거를 인정해주는 대학이 있고 인정해주지 않는 대학이 있어요. 그러니까 인정해주지 않는 대학에서 만약에 내가 컴패니티브한 어드미션 방법으로 쭉 가다 보면은 의외로 실패할 확률이 있어요. 그러니까 그걸 부모님들도 같이 전문가들한테 물어보고 학교에도 물어보고 얘기를 하셔야 돼요. 왜냐면 맨 땅에 박치기를 너무 하면 머리가 깨져요. 잘 보고서 어디로 갈 것인가 결정을 하셔야 되는 거예요. 그리고 사실 엑스트라 커리큘럼하고 그 다음에 운동이랑 이런 것들이 되게 중요하게 되는데 명문대학에서 제일 중요한 거는 볼드, 무모함을 좋아해요. 무모함. 이게 제일 중요해요. 내가 이거를 하는데 I don't care, I do my best, this is my passion 이런 걸 되게 좋아해요. 그래서 그런 것들이 많이 나타나야 돼요. 어떤 사람은 나는 게임이 좋아, 게임으로 끝장을 내겠어 이라고 하는 거는 무모함이 아니라 만용이고 내가 하는 것들이 너무너무 좋고 이건 정말 내가 이것 때문에 내가 클래스를 빠지고 이것 때문에 AP 뭐 이런 것도 시험도 못 봤지만 내가 이런 게 있어서 난 이거 가서 했어라고 하는 그런 열정을 보여주는 게 되게 중요해요. 왜냐하면 이제 자기 자신을 중심으로 한 스토리가 만들어지기 때문에 그렇죠? 그 다음에 그러니까 나만의 스킬인데 누구나 공감할 수 있는 거. 아까 어떤 친구는 그래요. 4학년서부터 자기가 사이언스를 좋아해서 뭔가 계속 만들고 대회에 계속 나가요. 아무한테 얘기 안 하지만 그 과정을 다 적고 기록하고 적어놔요. 조금만 그래도 동네 갈 때 요만한 거 상을 하나 줬어. 그것도 자기가 만들어 놓고 그 다음에 그거 해서 어떤 걸 배우는지 적고 이런 과정들을 꼼꼼히 기록하는 연습은 어릴 때부터 하셔야 되는 거고 그리고 제일 중요한 게 시작하시면 반드시 끝을 봐요, 애들한테. 그러니까 애들이 성취를 하도록 계속 푸시해 주셔야 돼요. 그렇지 않으면은 보면은 시작은 액티비티를 많이 해서 10개를 시작했는데 계속 바뀌어요. 해마다 바뀌고 그다음에 패션 유행에 따라 바뀌고 이러다 보면 나중에 11학년, 12학년 되면 쓰실 게 아무것도 없어요. 길이가 짧기 때문에. 무조건 이 엑스트라 커리큘럼은 길어야 돼요. 뭐 좋든 나쁘든 무조건 길어야 돼요. 아무리 안 좋은 걸 해도 3년, 4년 하시게 되면 그 부분에서 되게 전문가가 되니까 그 다음에 이제 이게 어퍼머티브 액션이 없어지면서 인종에 대한 것들이 걷어졌어요. 근데 캘리포니아에 이 어퍼머티브 액션이 없어진 지 오래됐어요. 몇 개주, 8개주는. 그래서 아시아들이 많이 들어가는데 아이비리그에서는 어퍼머티브 액션이 이제 없어졌기 때문에 정치와 교육이 함께 가요. 그러니까 아이비리그라고 하지만 실제로 아이비리그급 대학들이 많아요. 사립대학들. 그 사람들이 여태까지 뭐 했냐면 핑계가 좋은 거예요. 어퍼머티브 액션이 있으니까 뭐 다양성을 고려해서 한국 애들은 뭐 공부 잘하고 엑스트라 커리큘럼 다 똑같고 그 다음에 다 비슷비슷하고 그 다음에 말도 잘 듣고 뭐 개성도 없고라는 이상한 프레임을 씌워가지고 아이들을 많이 떨어뜨렸어요. 오죽하면 중국 애들이 술을 하겠어요. SAT 만점이고 이렇게 했는데 근데 그거는 그 사람들이 어떤 걸 하는지 몰라서 그러는 거예요. 그래서 이제 어퍼머티브 액션이 벌어졌기 때문에 이제 앞으로 대학을 들어가는 여러분들은 되게 그런 명문대학 가시려면 되게 유리한 거예요. 어떤 식으로 유리할지 모르겠지만은 조금이라도 유리해지셔요. 기계적으로 떨어지는 부분이 없어지는 거예요. 아시아냐 안 돼. 이게 없어지는 거예요. 우리는 언더 레프레젠티브 마이너리티가 아니기 때문에 그런 혜택을 못 받았는데 이제 그게 없어진 건 좋은 점이고 두 번째는 누구랑 싸우냐면 백인하고 싸우냐 와이트 퍼슨하고 그렇게 돼 있는 거죠. 우리 백인들하고 경쟁을 직접 하는 거예요. 근데 우리가 그런 실력과 자신감이 있으니까 괜찮고 그러다 보니까 이제 아셔야 되는 게 하여튼 이 사립학교의 입학이라고 하면 되게 복잡해요. 복잡해서 많은데 앞으로는 레가시도 좀 줄일 거예요. 그거 아세요, 여러분? 레가시 이론이 왜 생겼는지 아세요? 혹시 아시는 분? 레가시 오디션이 왜 생겼는지 미국에서 모르시구나. 저희가 미국 사람들이 유대인을 너무 무서워했어요. 그러니까 유대인들이 아이비리그를 휩쓰는 거예요. 옛날에 유대인들은 하버드 로스쿨을 집어넣어야 돼, 예일이나. 그러니까 너무너무 많이 들어오니까 얘들이 감당이 안 되니까 레가시를 만든 주이시를 브락하려고 만든 게 사실 레가시 어드미션이에요. 그러니까 주이시들은 우리만큼 차별을 많이 당했어요. 왜냐하면 LA도 얼마 전까지 뭐 LA 클럽 같은 데 주이시들을 멤버십을 못 썼어요. 아예 써있어요. 그렇게 지원을 안 된다고. 그래도 그 친구들은 열심히 해가지고 다 이제 극복을 하고 이제 주류 사회에서 가장 강력한 그룹이 됐는데 한국 사람들도 마찬가지일 거예요. 이제 에이션 아메리칸들도 어퍼머티브 액션이 바뀌었으니까 만약에 내 아들이 공부를 잘하고 탤런트가 있다 그러면 자신 있게 도전하시고 거기에 따른 전략을 잘 짜시면 좋은 성과가 나올 겁니다. 하여튼 뭐 되게 많은데 한 가지만 더 말씀드리고 넘어갈게요. 그 다음에 요거 이제 실제로 어떻게 하면 좋은지 사실 이거 오피셜한 게 아니라서 제가 그러는데 제 경험과 주위의 경험을 녹인 건데 이게 좋은지 나쁜지 그리고 애가 공부를 시키면 안 하는데 집에 가서 맨날 낙서만 해. 아니면 신발에다 그림만 그려. 아니면 바닷가에 가서 무슨 이게 뭐죠? 금속 탐지기로 뭘 찾고 다녀. 뭐 이런 걸 하는 애들이 있어요. 부모님들 볼 때는 정말 한심하거든. 아니 얘들 이게 뭐 하는 짓이야 도대체. 맨날 근데 그런 것들을 잘 보시면 거기서 그 학생만이 할 수 있는 걸 끌어낼 수가 있어요. 그걸 잘 끌어내는 게 부모 역할이에요. 이 두 가지 제가 신발에 그림 그린 거랑 메탈 이 금속 탐지기 실제 있었던 제가 아는 사람이에요. 그러니까 고민이 많은 거예요. 우리 딸이 글쎄 맨날 주말만 되면 짊어지고 나가는 거예요. 금속 탐지기를 바닷가 가서 동전을 모아요 매일. 그러니까 뭐 아무것도 없이 그걸 모아가지고 닦아가지고 전시를 했는데 그래서 어떻게 했으면 좋겠냐고. 그래서 아니 그러면은 그게 패션이 있으면은 그런 거 모아가지고 그걸 그냥 써서 방에 놓지 말고 내가 이렇게 모은 걸 가지고 내 주위 사람들을 도움을 줄 수 있는 방법을 만드는 거 어떻게 했느냐. 뭐 그런 게 사실 그 친구들 그걸 팔아가지고 하는 게 아니니까 그래서 그걸 다 모아서 뭐 자기가 어디다 도네이션을 한다든지 그냥 하면 그러니까 네가 조그만 그런 클럽을 만들어봐. 그래서 동정 클럽 만들어서 온라인에 뭐 SNS 통해가지고 친구들끼리 모여서 만들어서 어디다 기부하고 또 좋은 일 하고 이런 것들을 몇 년 동안 해보면 어떻겠냐고 했는데 그렇게 하셨더라고요. 그런 분도 계세요. 어떤 분은 또 자기 아들이 고민하시는 거 아니 집에만 오면 맨날 방에서 하얀 신발 사다가 그림을 그린대요. 그래가지고 학교 와서 판대요 그거를 뭐 100불 200불에 인기가 최고래요. 그러니까 어머님은 매일 걱정이고 얘가 지금 공부를 안 하고 운동도 안 하고 이것만 한다 그래서 그럴 거면은 그런 거랑 똑같은 거예요. 이걸 그려서 그냥 너희가 하지 말고 학생들이 좋아하는 거니까 이렇게 해서 나보다 가난한 사람들, 신발이 없는 사람들, 필요한 사람들한테 줄 수 있는 방법을 생각해보면 어떨까? 왜냐면 그런 것들이 내가 속해 있는 내 주변, 내 도시와 내 학교와 내 영향력을 미치는 거예요. 선한 영향을 미친다고 하기 때문에 그런 것들을 잘 정리하시고 기록하시고 남겨놓으시면 여러분들이 되게 훌륭한 엑스트라 커리큘럼이 돼요. 뭐 엑스트라 커리큘럼 가면 아프리카에 가서 집을 짓는다, 뭐 우물을 판다 이렇게 생각하시는데 그렇지 않아요. 그렇게 조그마한 거지만 애들이 실증을 내서 계속 할 수 있는 것들 그런 것들을 같이 찾아주는 게 되게 중요한 것 같고 그 다음에 이거는 뭐 드릴 말씀인지 아닌지 모르겠지만 절대로 그 과외 활동이나 엑스트라 커리큘럼 여기 있는 분들과 얘기할게요. 남의 들러리 쓰지 마세요. 용의 꼬리가 되지 마세요. 무조건 뱀의 머리가 돼야 돼요. 왜냐면 리더십이라는 게 무지하게 중요해요. 어디 가면 그러잖아요. 이런 식으로 철수한다. 그러면 우리 저기 애가 우리 클럽이 있는데 거기 가서 총무할래 이래요. 그러면 어머 총무가 어디야? 뭐 부회장 하려고 부회장이 어디야? 좋아서 하세요. 근데 가만히 보다 보니까 나중에는 리더십에는 자꾸 빠지게 되는 거예요. 시간이 지나면 노력은 노력대로 다 하고. 그러니까 여러분들이 어떻게든 만약에 엑스트라 커리큘럼을 한다고 되면 스스로 아들로 하여금 딸로 하여금 내가 중심이 돼서 내가 리더십을 할 수 있는 것 작지만 키워나갈 수 있는 것들 그리고 내가 만약에 10학년이면 9학년 애들을 모으세요. 8학년 애들을 나를 따라오는 애들 우리가 만들어서 그 다음에 네가 회장을 해 라고 하는 것들 이런 것들이 바로 작지만 리더십의 연습이 되고 그리고 따라오는 사람들은 마찰이 안 생겨요. 그렇잖아요. 그래서 어머님이 어디 가가지고 야 저 이전 KYCC에서 지금 뭐 거기 이 실제로 일이에요. KYCC에 가서 뭐가 있냐면 가난한 남미 애들이 여름방학 공부를 해요. 그러니까 제가 말하는 거 듣고서 연락을 하세요. 무조건 하겠다고. 가난한 애들이 돈이 없어요. 그러니까 뭐하고 공부를 가르치는데 선생님이 없어요. 선생님이 없으니까 선생님을 찾아요. 그러면 내가 학생들이 가가지고 난 we have four 애들이 있는데 공부 잘하니까 우리가 수학이나 뭐 물리나 뭐 바이오를 가르쳐주고 싶다. 우리가 커미트먼트를 해가지고 그럼 그 사람들 너무 좋아해요. 뭐 그러냐? 그럼 뭐 어느 학교에서 올 때 나 좀 여기 어디 하이스쿨 다니는데 우리 그룹이 있다. 그래서 하나 만들어가지고 거기 가서 이제 주말에 뭐 이런 방과후에 가서 애들 공부 가르치고 애들 들어주고 이런 것들은 돈 주고도 못 사는 엑스트라 커리큘럼이에요. 제가 이거 시험을 해드리고 실제로 이런 일이 있어서 그 학생은 예일도 프린스턴도 갔어요. 제가 이 말 하라고 해가지고 근데 그건 무슨 돈이 안 들어가요. 그냥 노력이 필요한 거고 근데 그걸 학생들이 혼자 하니까 힘들어요. 부모님이 좀 도와주시고 연락도 하고 이런 일들을 계속 하시는 게 되게 중요하고 부모님도 하나 조심하실 게 엑스트라 커리큘럼 하시면 친구들한테는 절대 얘기하지 마세요. 비밀이에요. 아무리 입이 근질근질해도 나랑 같은 12학년, 11학년을 쉐어하는 게 아니에요. 왜냐하면은 여기 어드미션 오피서가 있지만 어드미션 오피서들은 여러분들이 사람을 뽑는 건요 그 지역이 아니라 같은 학교에서 뽑는 어드미션 이제 시즌이 되면은 나눠서 서부 동부로 나누고 이 사람들이 돌아다녀요. 그리고 어느 학교에서 예를 들어서 그 많은 학교에서 사람 다 볼 수가 없잖아요. 그러니까 학교에 돌아다니면서 물어봐요. 리스트도 받고 니네 학교에서 공부 제일 잘하는 애가 누구니? 그럼 보통 리스트를 줘요. 물론 그렇지 않은 학교도 있어요. 너무 조그맣기 때문에 가지 않는 데도 있지만 그래서 그런 좋은 학교에 가면은 리스트를 받아요. 근데 거기에 한국 애들이 10명이 들어왔는데 여기서는 자기들끼리 싸움을 하는 거예요. 다른 사람은 절대 싸움 안 해요. 컴피티션은 내 친구하고 매일 하는 거예요. 그게 뭐 어디가 됐든지 간에. 그거는 뭐 나중에 물어보시면 이게 정확히 맞아요. 그래서 내가 하는 것들을 부모님들이 뭐 막 어렵게 만들었는데 막 공유하지 마시고 내가 스스로 잘 지키고 키워나가셔야 돼요. 되게 중요한 거예요. 그리고 한 가지만 더 끝낼게요. 그리고 에세이가 되게 중요한데 아까도 말씀드렸지만 엑스트라 커리큘럼 하는 과정은 무조건 다 기록하세요. 영상이든 유튜브든 뭐든 그건 부모님이 다 하셔야 돼요. 애가 못하면 애가 공부할 시간이 없어서 그걸 못해요. 하다 보니 편집도 좀 도와줘야 돼. 그런 것들은 부모님이 좀 아버님이 해주실 수 있어요. 뭐 찍어왔던 거 정리도 하고 올리고 하는 것도 물론 쓰는 거는 학생이 해야 되겠지만 기계적으로 걸리는 게 너무 많아요. 돈 많은 사람들은 돈 주고 다 해요, 전부 다. 정말로요. 다 해줘요, 그래. 찍고서 올리는 것까지. 그렇기 때문에 못하니까 약간의 도움이 필요하다 해주시는 게 되게 중요하고, 그 다음에 학생은 그걸 가지고 다듬어서 밸류를 만들어서 포트폴리오를 만드는 걸 어릴 때부터 할수록 좋아져요. 그게 3년, 4년이 쌓이면 생각을 해보세요. 내가 한 것도 아닌 게 애들 국민학교 라틴 애들한테 한국말 가르치고 산수 가르치는 걸 3년 동안 해가지고 내가 넘겨주고 다른 사람이 그 과정을 다 보면 깜짝 놀라죠. 그게 바로 내가 생각하는 커뮤니티 인볼브먼트 그리고 리더십. 만약 그게 좀 잘 됐어. 야, 그럼 저 뉴욕이는 내 친구한테 얘기해요. 그럼 뉴욕이랑 내가 같이 해요. 그럼 인터내셔널 그게 액티비티가 되는 거예요. 내셔널와이드 액티비티가 되는 거고. 그러니까 사람들이 볼 때 얘는 돈도 없고 리소스가 없는데 그렇게 부자도 아닌데 아버지 엄마가 한 1년에 10만 불밖에 못 버는데 이걸 다 하네. 패션이 있구나. 그리고 강인한 정신력이 있다. 이런 과정들을 다 보는 거기 때문에 꼭 하시면 좋을 것 같고, 그리고 요즘 학생들의 가장 문제는 글쓰기를 못해요. 근데 글쓰기가 망점이에요, 거의. 그래서 미리미리 에세이 쓰고 글 쓰는 연습 많이 시키셔야 돼요. 그러니까 실제로 여러분들이 의욕만 있으시면 모든 대학에서 그 에세이하고 서플리먼터리 에세이 토픽을 다 얻을 수가 있어요. 그 책도 팔아요. 가져다가 써봐야 돼요. 써보고 상상력으로 써보고 계속 라이딩을 하셔야 돼요. 어려운 거 아니에요. 근데 귀찮으니까 아무도 안 하기 때문에 나중에 회사 가서도 문제가 되고 대학원 갈 때도 문제가 돼요. 오케이. 자, 여기까지만 하고 그 다음에 파이낸셜 시간을 제가 많이 먹어서 파이낸셜 에이드로 설명드릴게요. 여러분들 중에서 파이낸셜 에이드 그러면은 잘 모르시는 분들 많으세요. 그래서 누가 신문에 나오죠. 자, 5,000불 내면은 장학금 얻어드립니다. 절대 하지 마세요. 바보 같은 짓이니까. 다음 페이지요. 그 미국의 시스템을 오늘은 환상만 잡아드릴게요. 미국의 교육 시스템을 이해하시면은 공부하기가 쉬워요. 사립이든 주립이든. 그러니까 COA하고 EFC가 있는데 COA는 Cost of Attendance, 그리고 EFC는 Expected Family Contribution. 그래서 실제로 대학을 다니면 돈이 얼마나 필요하고 패밀리가 얼마나까지 돈을 줄 수 있는가를 기본으로 해요. 그래서 이걸 이해를 하고 계셔야 돼요. 거기 두 가지가 있어요. 다음 페이지로. 제일 중요한 거는 그 아까 얘기했던 FAFSA라는 거고 CSS라는 게 있어요. 다음 페이지 넘겨주세요. FAFSA하고 CSS가 있는데 FAFSA라고 하는 거는 맞죠? 네. 공짜고 이거는 스테이트하고 페더럴에서 주는 그랜트를 받는 거예요. 그 다음에 CSS는 프라이빗 칼리지에서 받는 거예요. 이 두 개가 왜 필요한가? 10월 1일 되면 이걸 무조건 파일을 하셔야 돼요. 대학교 들어갈 때, 준비될 때. 그래가지고 이거 가지고 이제 모든 그 장학금이나 그 다음에 니드 베이스, 장학금은 여러 가지가 있어요. 니드 베이스가 있고 그다음 메리트 베이스가 있어요. 그 두 개 섞어놓은 게 있고, 그 니드 베이스는 뭐냐면은 미국의 아이비리그 탑 20 스쿨들은 전부 다 장학 메리트를 안 줘요. 메리트가 없어요, 아예. 그래서 어떤 분들이 그러죠. 우리 아들이 스탠포드 가는데 풀 스칼라십을 받았어. 그러면 that doesn't make sense. 왜냐면 스탠포드는 풀 스칼라십을 안 줘요. 하버드도 안 주고. 그냥 니드 베이스를 줘요. 이건 전부 다 드릴 거예요. 전부 다 안 찍으셔도 돼요. 니드 베이스는 뭐냐면 내가 20만 불을 벌어. 30만 불을 버는데 1년에 10만 불을 버는데 내 식구가 몇 명이야. 그러면은 그 학생이 들어가는 코스트와 이걸 계산을 해가지고 계산을 해줘요. 스탠포드 하버드가 1년에 9만 불. 룸앤 보드 합쳐서 9만 불. 10만 불밖에 안 되고 집이 없고 뭐가 없고 해서 계산을 딱 하면은 너는 이것만 내 15,000불만 내 5,000불만 내 이런 거 계산을 해줘요. 그거를 에이드라고 해요. 파이낸셜이에요. 그래서 명문대학들은 다 그래요. 저 UCLA는 니드 베이스가 아니에요. UCLA는 FAFSA를 이용해서 페더럴 그랜츠, 그러니까 캘리포니아 주정부하고 페더럴에서 주는 돈이 있어요. 펠 그랜트라는 게 있고 칼 그랜트가 있는데 그걸 뭐 3.0이 넘고 그 다음에 아까 얘기했던 세금 보고랑 기본적인 정보를 집어넣으면 매년 돈이 나와요. 칼 그랜트는 A, B, C가 있는데 거기에 따라서 그래서 좀 그렇게 나오고 그 다음에는 주는 게 없어요. 그 다음에는 이제 메리트 스칼라십 이런 걸 받아야 돼요. 공부를 잘해가지고 아니면 공부를 되게 잘하는 친구도 들어갈 때 그걸 받아요. 어플리도 그렇고. 그래서 아이러니하게 나중에 보여드리겠지만 어떨 때는 그 주립대학이 사립대학보다 돈을 훨씬 많이 내는 일이 벌어져요. 지금 미국에 되게 많은 명문대학에서는 10만 불 이하에는 튜이션을 안 받아요. 뭐 하버드, 스탠포드 다 그렇죠. 예입도 그렇고. 그래서 사실은 주립대학은 메리트밖에 없기 때문에 그리고 그 니드 베이스가 아니기 때문에 학생들이 예상외로 뭐 돈을 부모님들이 많이 내셔야 되는 일이 벌어져요. 그리고 이 IDOC가 되게 중요한데 여러분들이 나중에 앞으로 이 CSS나 FEPSA를 적어서 그러니까 CSS를 어디서 정리하면요 칼리지 그저 페더럴에서 나라에서 하는 웹사이트가 있어요. 그 FEPSA 치시면은 그 프로파일을 만드실 수가 있고 거기서 만드는 거고 CSS는 칼리지 보드라는 게 있지 않습니까? 거기서 만들어요. 이건 사립이죠. 여기는 나중에 이게 되게 중요한 거예요. 무조건 두 가지 등록을 하시고 그 IDOC는 뭐냐면 이런 정보를 보내주는 그와 같은 시스템이에요. 그래서 나중에 이 IDOC에다가 IDOC에 뭐 통해서 내 FEPSA하고 CS 정보가 다 넘어가요. 거기는 부모님이 얼마 버시는지 뭐 이런 소득 정보들 뭐 다 있어요. 되게 간단한데 보여드릴 거예요. 다음 페이지를. 그래서 FEPSA는 일단 공짜고 그 다음에 이거는 뭐 누구나 뭐 빈부에 의해서 차별받지 않아요. 클래스가 있는데 자격이 되는 사람들 그 돈을 다 받는데 문제는 늦게 하면 금액이 떨어지는 돈이 없으면 돈을 못 받아요. 그러니까 무조건 빨리 파일하시는 게 좋아요. 그러니까 뭐 이거는 걱정하실 필요 없고 이거 써주고서 돈 버는 사람 있어요. 몇천 불씩. 그런 거 하지 마세요. 이건 왜냐면 부모님의 개인 정보를 다 넣으시면 돼요. 다음 페이지요. 다음 페이지. 여기 있죠. 이런 것들을 스튜던 아이디가 jebo.에 들어가서 아이디 만들고 뭐 소셜 저걸 다 쓰기 때문에 참 주기가 그렇잖아요. 저걸 남이 대신 써준다는 게 얼마나 그래요. 저거 집어넣고 W2 만약에 직장 다니시는 분들은 되게 간단해요. 근데 사업하시는 분은 좀 복잡해지겠죠. 그러니까 그런 것들은 회계사한테 얘기해 주시면 필요한 정보를 다 만들어 주시니까 그렇게 하시면 돼요. 그래서 이거는 모든 내가 파이낸셜 에이드를 안 받든 대학을 들어간 사람 FEPSA는 다 하시라고 제가 추천을 해요. 무조건 다 의무적으로. 다음 페이지요. 그 다음에 CSS는 아까 말씀드린 칼리지 보드에서 하는 거예요. 미국에 있는 400개 정도의 대학이 이 CSS 프로파일을 통해서 파이낸셜 에이드를 제공을 해요. 그렇기 때문에 사립대학을 보내는 사람한테 되게 중요한 일이 돼요. 이건 반드시 정확하게 이건 정보를 더 많이 요구해요. 그래서 이것도 필요할 때 회계에서 도움을 받으시는 게 좋아요. 어렵지는 않고. 넘어가시죠. 이건 돈을 받아요. 한 장에 25불. 근데 두 번째 애플리케이션 쓰면 16불씩 추가가 돼요. 그러니까 예를 들어서 내가 10개를 했다 그러면 25불 플러스 16 곱하기 9가 돼요. 그것도 인컴이 3만 불 이하인가? 10만 불 이하면 그 웨이브를 또 받을 수가 있어요. 이거 꼭 참조하시고 다음 페이지요. 자, 다음 페이지는 일단 말씀드릴 거고 다음 파이낸셜 에이드가 이것만 정리가 되는데 일단 여러분들이 그 아이비리그는 아카데미에서 메리트가 없어요. 우리 아들이 풀 스칼라십 받았다 그러면 그 공부를 잘해서 학교에서 파이낸셜 에이드를 준 거기 때문에 그 부모님들은 뭐 그렇게 얘기하셔도 괜찮아요. 아이비리그 들어갔는데 우리 아들이 4년 장학금 받았어 그렇게 얘기하셔도 문제는 아니지만 엄밀히 따져보면 그건 장학금이 아니라 그 사람들의 태도는 우리 학교에 들어왔기 때문에 너희들은 인재이기 때문에 돈에 대한 걱정을 하지 마라. 너희 부모의 재정 상태에 따라서 이만큼 돈을 내고 이만큼 돈을 내라라는 그런 거지만 근데 4년 딱 개런티를 해주면 장학금을 줘요. 그러면 보통 학교에 들어가가지고 내가 학생 어카운트를 만들고 나면은 이제 등록금이 차지가 되고 얘네들은 그랜트가 들어오고 그다음에 캘리포니아 사는 뭐 펠 그랜트랑 칼 그랜트가 거의 매년 꽂혀요. 그러니까 아까 얘기했던 그 FEPSA는 매년 파일을 하셔야 돼요. 매년 파일을 해야지 내 등록금하고 익스펜스하고 자기 학생 어카운트에서 빠져나가요. 저부터 다 볼 수가 있거든요. 그렇고 그 다음에 메리트 베이스는 아까도 말씀드린 저런 거 가지고 컨설팅을 해요. 돈을 내면은 내가 메리트 장학금을 다 해주겠다. 근데 저건 권하지 않는 게 학생 5,000불, 2,000불짜리 뭐 10군데 어플라이 하라고 그래요. 또 에세이 쓰고 뭐 해야 되는데 그거 학생들이 원서 내고 나서 그 지옥 같은 시간을 보내는데 저거 하나만 보는 건 도덕적으로 맞지도 않는 거 같고 그리고 우리가 장학금 받아서 학교 관련된 목적이 아니에요. 좋은 학교에 들어가서 내가 컨트리뷰션 하면서 내가 좋은 잡을 갖고 좋은 미래를 설계하는 게 목적이지 뭐 저거 따라가지고 학교를 공짜로 다니는 게 목적은 아니라고 저는 생각하기 때문에 하여튼 그거는 안 해주시면 좋고 그 다음에 사실 이게 시간 있으면 이거 좀 하고 싶은데 이 퀘스트 브릿지라는 게 되게 좋은 프로그램이에요. 혹시 이거 들어보신 분 계세요? 퀘스트 브릿지? 일단 여기 다 부자가 오신 것 같네요. 이 퀘스트 브릿지가 뭐냐면은 사실 이게 왜 좋은 프로그램이냐면 이게 메리트도 아니고 니드 베이스 아니고 특이해요. 퀘스트 브릿지라는 프로그램을 뽑히면은 파이널리스트가 되면 4년 장학금을 주고 그 안에 선택한 대학이 개런티가 돼요. 여기에 뭐 스탠퍼드, 예일, 프린스턴 뭐 다 들어가 있어요. 하버드는 빠져 있지만 그게 뭐냐면 그 중에서 뭐 성적이 여기는 성적을 되게 중요시해요. 완전히 탑, AP도 탑 스코어, 공부 되게 잘해. 그리고 뭐 우리가 생각하는 그런 SLR이 이런 건 없어도 괜찮아요. 공부를 되게 강점 강하게 하는 거고 부모님의 인컴이 조금 낮은 분들, 그러니까 여기 기억은 정확히 안 나는데 찾아보시면 돼요. 근데 1년 인컴이 6만 불 이하인가? 이런 분들이 있어요. 그 중에 사업하셔서 인컴을 작게 먹으시는 분도 있어요. 그래서 이걸 하시는 분도 있는데 여기에 가서 어떤 분이 그 풀 안에서 싸우는 거예요. 애들끼리 전부 다. 그래서 어떻게 보면은 공부를 되게 잘하고 정말 치열하게 공부하는데 내가 뭐 엑스트라 커리큘럼 조금 빠지는 사람들, 이런 사람들한테는 의외로 되게 좋은 성과를 내서 여기서는 얘들이 4년 장학금을 줘요. 그래서 그 돈 가지고 뭐 스탠퍼드나 예일 가서 다닐 수가 있어요. 그래서 이것도 뭐 특별한 프로그램인데 관심이 있으시면 애가 어리신 분들, 이건 이제 매년 경쟁을 해서 파이널이 돼야 되니까 우리가 공부 되게 잘하는데 우리가 좀 형편이 그렇고 인컴은 그렇지만 미국에서 재밌는 게 인컴이 낮으면 학교보다 많은 도움이 돼요. 부자들이 되게 힘들어요. 부자들은 돈도 많이 내야 되고 받는 베네핏이 아무것도 없어요, 사실은. 아니면 아주 부자가 돼야 돼요. 그래서 뭐 내가 뭐 얼리나 이런 데 들어가겠다? 그러면 가능하죠. 요것만 하고 끝낼게요. 얼리는 한국 사람은 안 하시는 게 좋아요. 제 느낌에 얼리는 우리가 생각하는 공부 잘하는 애들은 안 뽑아요. 얼리풀은 뭐냐면 레가시, 애슬레틱, 그 다음에 underrepresented minority, 그리고 아주 스페셜한 스토리 있는 사람 위주로 뽑아요. 그렇기 때문에 저는 개인적으로 만약에 한국 학생들이 그런데 안 합하면은 그냥 저기 베벌리힐스에 있는 H 하이스쿨에 1년에 100명씩 아이비리그를 간다. 뜯어보면 90%가 다 그런 학생들이에요. 거기 공부 잘하는 애들은 안 돼 있어요. 그러니까 그거는 명심하셨으면 좋고, 그 다음에 이제는 제가 볼 때는 너무 좋은 고등학교를 따라다니시는 것보다 내가 가서 1등을 할 수 있는 고등학교를 잘 선택해서 다니는 게 되게 중요한 시점이 됐어요. 그냥 누가 좋다, 어디 가니까 무슨 학교가 좋다, 거기 가보세요. 비싼 애들 쫙 있어요. 거기서 뭐 탑20 하면 힘들어요. 그런 시절이 지나가고 있어요. 왜냐? 이제는 그 성적이 다가 아닌 그런 학교 어드미션을 한다고 하니까 그걸 100% 활용할 수 있는 것들, 경제적인 것, 시간 다 활용하셨으면 좋겠습니다. 하여튼 제가 너무 많은 시간을 할애한 것 같아요. 여기까지만 하고 질문 있으면 질문 받고 끝내겠습니다.
Okay, so now we have a fourth speaker, the ChiaeByun Kitayama. She has a Doctor of Education and former administrator of a Koreatown Pico Union Community School, and she just has a current position 2 weeks ago, right? So currently she's an administrator of a middle school instruction. Please welcome Ji-ae 선생님.
안녕하세요. Good morning. So my name is ChiaeByun Kitayama. I'm an administrator of Los Angeles Unified School District. I'm in charge of middle school instruction which I started on July 1st. Prior to that, I was supporting 18 schools in Koreatown, Pico Union area. So we have high schools, pre-kinder through high school. So you heard this morning from various speakers about how do you make your application stand out amongst all the others. Mr. John talked about 3.5 million seniors, and you're competing against all those seniors. How are you making your application stand out so you have a better chance of getting to your preferred schools? So, as a product school district, I want to introduce you some of the programs that we have at our high schools that will help you to stand out amongst others. So I'm going to just do a quick, just like me, activity. I was going to have you get up, but now that you had a chance to get up and get some food. So how many of you actually have your children in one of our schools, in Los Angeles Unified School District? Raise your hand if you have any, your student children at our school. So we only have a couple parents, which is great. So I have 34 years of experience in education. I started as a bilingual teacher in Koreatown. So I actually studied at Hobart, and I taught at Wilton Place. I became a principal, and I was a principal at Cornell Elementary School. And I moved on to become a director, and I supported 18 schools in Koreatown and Pico Union as an administrator. Now I'm working in the headquarters of LA Unified supporting all middle schools and their curriculum and instruction. So, Ms. Diep talked about 13 points you see, look into their college applicants poll to pick the best one. So I'm going to talk about a few things in the 13 criteria they have as a holistic application poll. And actually, I didn't put grade point average, but you know, when she was talking, it dawned on me. Because since pandemic, our district is implementing something called EGI, which is equitable grading instruction, which means that is based on growth mindset, which means that usually when you get an A, how do you get an A? Based on your quizzes, midterm, final, and if you score above certain percentile, you get your grade, correct? Also, how you behave in the classroom, or how you do your projects, how you do your homework, that all play into your final grade for the semester. So EGI is something that we are implementing in all of our schools, is that it's mastery driven. So we give you multiple chances to prove your mastery in the standards you're working on. So it could be a project, it could be a quiz, it could be a midterm, it could be a final, but that's not the end all and be all. So you'll be able to actually have multiple opportunities to show your mastery, and then you can improve your grade. So that's a good news for some of our students, because you don't have only one shot to prove your grade, but you have multiple opportunities to show them. So that is something that we're implementing at our schools. And I'm going to our schools in LAUSD, and I had a brochure in the back, and it looks like this. That kind of gives you some of the special programs that we have, and we're actually leading the nation with these programs. And those are, I'm going to give a quick fact about our Los Angeles Unified. We cover a vast area of LA County. So we start from North Beach all the way up to Woodland Hills, down to San Pedro, to East LA, to West LA. So it's a huge area that we cover. So we are the second largest school district in the country. So the number one, the biggest district is New York, and then LA is the second largest school district. We have about 750,000 students in pre-K to all the way to adult. So, and we have about 500,000 students within PK to 12th grade. And then we have many schools. We have like 435 elementary schools. We have magnet schools, and we have middle schools, 77 plus span schools. We have about 86 high schools. So it's a big district, so we have a lot of students. And we have very diverse communities. So we have West LA, Palisades, we have South Central area, or South LA area. So we have different communities that we serve. So here. So the four distinctive programs that we have is something called CTE, which is Career Technical Education. And we also have linked learning pathway. And then we have work-based learning, and then we have dual enrollment. So I'm going to give you a little bit of explanation of what these might be. So first one is CTE. And I'm going to, are we able to play a video now? I'm going to try to play it to see if it works. Okay, it's not working. That's okay. So, Career Technical Education is like an old way of learning those workshop model classrooms. So how many of you went to high school in 80s and 90s when you have a wood workshop? Or you have the auto shop? How many of you experienced those? The parents, I guess. Yeah, so you had those wood workshops, you had those, so those are part of a career workshop, so they provide training for our students. They can kind of get a piece of what that would look like. Since No Child Left Behind, we took away a lot of those, because we felt that by creating those classes, we're pigeonholing some of the students that, well, you look like you're going to be a good candidate for auto shop, so I'm going to put you in there. So you don't go to college, but you become a mechanic, right? So since No Child Left Behind, we took away a lot of those opportunities, and then we put it in to focus more on core instruction. But we are bringing these back because we realize not only all students are interested in going to college, we need to make sure that our students are ready for career pathway as well, not just college, career pathway. Not only that, through these programs, students actually kind of get a taste of it. So they say, wow, I really like working with cars by going through the CT pathway in auto shop. But that doesn't mean you have to be a mechanic after high school. You can actually go to LA Trade Tech to learn more, get your associate degree in car mechanics, or you can learn car design. You can go to Art Center College to become a car designer, or you could study computer engineering to create those engineering majors. So actually the CTE is providing opportunity for students to explore a different career pathway and get a plan what they really want to do after high school. So currently we have about 437 pathways at our schools. So they could be, and they could get a certificate too. So you could do like Microsoft certificate, or they could get a computer certificate, or they could get a auto mechanic certificate. So we have those CTE pathways at our schools. And then linked learning, we have a linked learning pathways. What we are doing is marrying, let's say, we have, let's say animation, for instance. We have a CTE animation, and these are teachers from industry. So the teachers we select, they have to have at least minimum 2 years of experience to become a teacher in these CTE pathways. So let's say we have an animation CTE, then the teachers who are animation workers at Disney Studio, they get to come and work with our students. So after that, what we do is as a linked learning pathway is, now we're marrying that Disney trained animation teacher with our art teacher, math teacher, and English teacher. We all work together and we create a course. So introductory course and a course, have a full-year course, the pathway, and we call it, that's linked learning. And then they can also, we link it to community colleges, or UCLA colleges, courses, or Art Center courses. So the students have an opportunity in a high school to get some of those experiences. That'll make their essays and that'll make their college application stronger because they have experienced those at their school, high school. So that is linked learning. And the work-based learning, earlier Mr. John mentioned about it's really hard to get those internship opportunities. Our schools already have a contract, MOU, with companies in LA. So our students automatically goes into those internship programs. So that's work-based learning. And the dual enrollment is actually, you could have concurrent enrollment. So you're a high school student, but you can take courses from community colleges. So I'm going to give you a little bit of that. So in the brochure, actually, if you look through it, there are different, this brochure will give you different CT pathway and where those pathways are being provided at different schools. So different, the very multitude of programs. So that again, 433 CTE pathways in 155 schools. And it starts from middle and high school. So it starts from not only just high school, we have middle school CTE programs. And then we have the linked learning. So we have sports medicine is one example of the CTE. We have video production. We have education. So we want to train our students to become TAs and also become teachers in the future. And information communication technology. And we actually have a certificate program for, what is that? It's escaping my mind, but the security, what is that security? cybersecurity, and agriculture and natural resources. We have fashion and interior design. We have architecture and engineering, health science and medical technology. This is some of the CP pathway we have at our schools. And transportation. So students get to work at the school site, or they take it to the actual industry to work in those sites to learn about what they do and how, and also accompanies a certificate program as well. So linked learning is, not all schools with CP has a linked learning, because linked learning, as I said, is integrated with the core and the CP classes. So, it's not here, but I want to tell you that how many of you know about RFK Community Schools on Wilshire, right next to Radio Korea? Yeah, so if you drive Wilshire in Koreatown, it's about between Normandy, about Pasadena, there's a big school campus. And in there, we have 5 high schools, and five different high schools provide different programs. So one of the high school is called Schools for Visual Arts and Humanities, that we call storewa, and they provide the animation program that I was alluded earlier. And then we have ASGL, which is the Ambassador School for Global Leadership. They have an IB program. And then we have LASA, which is Los Angeles High Schools for Arts. They have a very robust theater program that they work with the studio, major studios, and they have a stage designing pathway, and also they have a custom design. So students actually make the customs in the back stage for the actors and actresses. At the end of these learning, students have to present to the producers from Hollywood, from the studio owners. They come in front, and in front of them our students present what they learned, what they have accomplished. So this is another, so not just their learning, but they have to show what they learned, and they have to be able to articulate. So they have to create a portfolio, and that's what they do as part of the linked learning pathway. So the students, what she's doing is actually presenting her learning from this linked learning pathway. And then that's the portfolio is one of the websites that we use to show all the tracking of what they have learned throughout 4 years of high school. So Mr. Jung, some of the UC admission officer, Mr. Jung mentioned about how you track your progress. So we actually have a tool for students to track what they have done in their high school in 4 years, so that they can actually present their information. Not only that, they can use this information to write an essay and apply to different schools. So we have that. And then we have something called Zello. Zello is actually available through K through 8. So not only our high school students are doing those portfolio, but we're starting it as early as elementary school to start creating. What are you interested in? What are you passionate about? So they can start having this conversation. And in the Zello, you can actually explore different careers. So let's say I want to become a gamer. What are some of the things I can do? So they can actually go back, and they have videos, and some of the colleges, they offer those courses and such. So this is another site that our students have to explore different career pathways and different universities. And we're very excited about the Paxton Patterson Career Lab. So this is a company who come and create a lab, like simulation of lab for our school. So, and we talked about earlier the medical health science. So we have those labs at our school site. So kids can actually start, they're practicing how to take the blood out. So those are some of the things that our students are exposed to. So not all students end up going to medical school or become a doctor, but they know what it's like. So they know whether I'm actually interested in or not interested before you get into college and actually majoring this pre-med. and then work-based learning, and then we have, so LA is where we are. We have so many great industries in our neighborhood. So we are working closely with them, so we provide opportunities. As I said earlier, I work in the headquarters of LAUSD, which is near downtown. We have on our floor, we have about 5 students, workers. So during summer, they're coming to work in our building to see what it's like to work in a building, work in a department where the constant things going on. So we provide those opportunities for our students as well. I am going to, dual enrollment is something that we're very, very, very proud of. And I know that a lot of other schools have that, but I want to share with you, we have something called AB 288. This was passed in 2016, that all the courses, when our high school students take a college course concurrently, it's all free. But not only that, in 2020, we have something called LA Promise. Oh, I didn't like that, LA Promise. So all of our students who graduate from LA Unified gets free for 2 years at any of the community colleges in LA. So that is LA Promise. So talking about saving your money, you can actually send your students to any of the community colleges for free for 2 years. They can transfer to their preferred universities. So that's an advantage. And then we have something called Super Grad Program, and we have it at RFK now High School. What that is actually, you could actually get your AA degree in high school. So when you graduate from high school, not only you have your high school diploma, but you have an AA degree attached to it. Can you imagine? Then you can just go to a 4-year school right after college. After 2 years, you're done. You have your bachelor's degree. So we have something called Super Grad Program at our schools as well. And I know that many of you are aware of our magnet programs. So we have a specialized magnet programs where your students can go and learn. So we have like medical magnet program where you can really actually learn about career pathway as well as prepare to go to a pre-med route. And for some of our students who might be interested in, we actually studying an esports magnet school. So where you can actually come to school, learn about esports, and actually get to play a game on campus. Would that be exciting for some of our students? So those are some of the special programs that we have at our schools to support our students. Also, that's LA College Promise. So these are some of the resources. So sorry. Thank you. I have to apologize. It's a radio's holding that radio course. I'm so sorry. So, just up to what I discussed, I want you to turn to your, based on what you heard from me or from any of the speakers, what kind of resonated with you? Like what you remember? Just one thing you remember, one thing kind of, comes into your heart, or one thing like, oh, I didn't know about this. So please turn to the neighbor next to you and share one thing that you learned today so far. Okay, thank you. I always say whoever talks the most gets the most learning. So the more you talk, you actually process your learning and then you walk away something, right? So in closing, I want to really think about this. I want you to ask yourself or ask your children, instead of asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would like you to ask this. What problems do you want to solve in the world? Because that thinking is going to shift you from who am I going to work for in the future to what do I need to learn to make that happen? So I really want you to think about this. It's not about what do you want to be when you grow up, what do you want to do? No. What problem do you want to solve in the world? That's going to make you stand out. And that's going to guide you to which college you want to go to, what you want to major, what you want to do with your life. Right? So that is something that I really want you to walk away with. And then in the guide, there's a list of our schools and different programs that we provide. And also from page 56 to 57, there's a checklist. So since freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, what are some of the things you can do to help you make this process a little easier? So there's a checklist that you can actually look through with your children or by yourself as a student. Okay, so do we have a time for a question?
We have a question at the end altogether, because I'm sure they have a very busy Saturday schedule. So, well, next speaker is going to be Dr. JungSuk Lee from Ivy Dream Chief Consulting. Please welcome Dr. Lee. And for your information, all this presentation you see today, you can take it with you. So the people who have this event is going to give you the information.
오늘 이 자리에 와주신 거 토요일날 더운 날 굉장히 힘든 걸 하셨을 것 같은데 I'll speak both English and Korean. But then I see majority of the audience to the parents. I want to convey them. If I want to convey them in Korean, it's like if your parents need to know, I'll speak Korean. If the students need to know, I'll speak English. By the way, before I start, I want to see among students who want to go to good colleges, top colleges, really good, great colleges. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. So no one wants to go to good college. My talk's going to change based on your preference. If you want to go to marginal college, my talk will be probably cut in half. So I want to know. I need to know because time is pressing, right? I don't want to delay this like any longer than I need to. So who want to go to good college? Why are you here? If you're here because you want to go to college, raise your hand. It's okay. I need you to stand up and come to front. Like sit on the front, because you know what I see? It's like all this like empty rows in the front. You only see that in the theater, right? You go to theater, nobody sits in the front, right? I need you to come forward. I know. My next speakers, Judge Brody and Dr. Kim from Boston Education will appreciate that too. Please come forward. I need all of you to sit in the front, because then you're gonna get so much out of this. I promise. Stand up, come up. You're gonna be a leader, I know. I'm gonna talk about leadership too. I know your parents are gonna follow you, so come forward. So I wasn't born here. Please move forward. I told students, but then parents too. You should be exemplary. 본보기를 보여주세요. 앞으로 오세요. So I'm going to talk a little bit about me. I wasn't born here. I came into the States when I was 18. I run a consulting company called Diep. I also run a AI Mind group. And today, I want to show you how to get into good college. Let's start. So it's about So I know a little bit about getting accepted. I went to Berkeley, I got my physics degree, and then I got accepted to Berkeley, Cornell, and I went to Princeton and Harvard. I chose Harvard at the end, I got my PhD at Harvard, and then I spent 3 years as a fellow at Caltech before I started my own company. And today I'm going to talk about 5 things. Before I start, I know time is limited. It's really, my talk usually takes about an hour. I had to make it this. It's a 20-minute talk. I need to make it. Actually, I can settle around 20 minutes because I don't want to make it too long. It's boring. So I had 2 choices. Do I cut my talk by 70%, or do I just keep everything, just speak fast? So I chose to speak fast. And to do that, I call it, it's because I was born in Korean. It's like Korean is my natural language. English is not, so I had to kind of convert my thoughts. So I'll speak Korean when I just speak Korean. If I get to speak fast, if I don't make any sense, it's please understand. If I don't make any sense, it's not important anyway. So 5 things. I'm going to tell you about results, trends, important mission factors. I need you to know. I'm going to talk about Tesla. Supreme Court, I'm going to tell you AI. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about strategy. So result. Trend is obvious. There's too many students are applying to college. That's just the way it is. Especially since COVID. You know the reason why? No SAT. Barrier has been lowered so much that everyone's applying to college. How is it so? It's like we had, since COVID, 21% increase in common applications, so students are applying more, 20% underrepresented minority. You're a minority, you're just not underrepresented, you're overrepresented. But underrepresented minority applicant, 31% increase. First generation applicant, 36%. Look at that. Reporting fee waiver, which means you're the lower income family. 445% increase since COVID. It's just a lot of it. On top of that, we have 55% increase, 40 students. That's where they're coming from. China, mainly China. They're coming. All these increase, obviously, the college cannot accept more than they can, but there are so many students applying. What happens? Acceptance rates drop, and it's dropping crazy. If I show you a little bit of data, all this data, you don't have to take photos. I'm going to go fast. I'm never taking photos. You don't have to. Everything is, I have it on, at the end of the slide, at the end of the presentation, I'll show you a link where you can download everything. I'm not going to keep anything from you, so you can see exactly the way it's shown here. So you don't have to, write anything, just listen. So this year, the last one, 2023, look at the acceptance rate at Ivy League schools, right? Anywhere from 3.4 to 6%. Some of the colleges are not reporting. It's just really, really low. We never seen that before. But then, what happened? So I'm just going to show you 2 data here. 2019, 2020. Until 2019, this is right before COVID. Acceptance rate has been just declining year after year. It's just been, as far as I remember, when I studied this 20 years ago, acceptance rate at Harvard was not this low. It's like maybe 7%, 8%. It was low, but not this low. It's just ridiculously low. And it's been declining every year. But then, in 2019, from 2020, you can see that it actually increased. So we thought, oh, okay, there's a reversal of the trend. Maybe acceptance rate is not, it's plateau, now it's going up. Because like Brown went up, Columbia went up, Dartmouth, even Harvard went up 4.5 to 4.9%. Then what happened? COVID hit. And I told you that applicant number just increased just like crazily. And then it's right after that, acceptance rate just like dropped like crazy. So you see that Brown from 7 to 5.4%, Harvard 4.9 to 3.4%. And that reversal of trend now is becoming a trend. It's dropping every year. But if you just look at this number, yeah, getting into hard college is is hard, and getting into good college is harder, right? And I have acceptance rate for other schools. Again, I'm not going to go into it. You can actually look at that later if you're interested. So what happens, I know President John said, do not applying early, is there any advantage? So I have a mixed feeling about that. So I'll tell you a little bit about why. So is it true? Early applicants data statistically have a chance. I understand one of the speaker right there, right? You got into UPenn through ED, right? Okay, so we have one person that went through this crazy American applicant process and made it through ED. There's so many different kinds of work. Again, I cannot get into detail because of time, but I need you to do research. There's early action. It used to be much simpler. There used to be early action, early decision. Now we have like variations of that. So we have early action. It's a good school, MIT, Chicago, USC. Finally, they didn't have this early action before. This year it started early. So the trend is okay. They want to do early, so that they want to take more students early. So and then we have restrictive early action. Restrictive early action is a little bit different. It is early action, which means when I say early action, I'm sure you know what it is by now. But it's not binding, which is good. You apply early, you get accepted early, you just don't have to go, right? So a lot of colleges are using it, but not a lot. Which ones are using it? Really good school. What is H5 test? What is H5 test? It's okay. H5 test. Harvard, Stanford. That's why I said tips. You'll hear it when it's about time to write an application. You'll like Caltech using it, Notre Dame, Georgetown. Restrictive early action is something that you apply. You can apply early. You don't have to come if you get accepted, but you cannot apply to somewhere else early. They have some restrictions. You need to know if you're applying early school. And any of the school, you gotta know those things. Every school has a different rule. So if you apply, you'll be surprised. I should know. So make sure you understand that if you're actually doing any of that. Most colleges, however, use early decision. Early decision is binding, which means you apply early, you get accepted early, that's it. You go to UPenn. There's no other way. You got accepted early, UPenn, right? There's no other way. That's how it is. And then again, most private colleges that are not listed here are using early decision. And now another variation, early decision too. Oh, you didn't get in early any other place. Okay, there's a second chance of early decision. You know what? We still want you, and it's still binding, but they will give you a second chance. Early decision happens November 1st. Early decision 2 happens, the deadline is like January 1st. So when you're writing the application for regular, you can actually choose one for early decision 2. Surprisingly, a lot of good colleges are on this list. You see Johns Hopkins, NYU, Pomona, Swarthmore, Tufts, Vanderbilt, Wellesley, WashU, Chicago. Chicago is early decision 1, early decision 2, early action. And let me tell you, if you want to go to Chicago, if you do early action, you're not going to get it. I can tell you that. Because early action means you don't have to come. I told you, right? And we got 2 other programs, early decision 1, early decision 2. If you get accepted, you got to come. Which student you're going to choose if you're U Chicago? Decision 1 and 2, right? So I know a lot of students think that, Chicago, you know what, I can just do early action and see. They're not going to get it. I almost guarantee that. And the trend is more than 50% of the classes are chosen from early applicants. So, which means regular pool it's just so small. So many students are applying, more students, but then because half of them are already filled through early decision, it's just hard through regular decision. And here's acceptance rate. I'm just going to give you one example. Look at Harvard. Again, you can look at the data later. So if you look at Harvard on the far left, what you see is 7.6, 3.4, 2.6%. 3.4% is overall acceptance rate. Overall, 7.6% is early acceptance rate. And then then what happens if you apply in January? 2.6%. That's 40. That's like 1 out of 40 students. And these are not regular students applying to Harvard. So it's just much tougher. Yes, President Johnson said, early is, we call it early game. Early is filled with legacy, athletes, special kids. It is absolutely true. It is absolute. But there are still spaces, and they're filling those spaces with students who may not be admitted through regular teachers. So, my suggestion is, if you're applying to college in any way, use early action decision, use one of those. It should give you, even if it's marginal, it should give you a little bit of a better chance. Again, I know I have some use data too, you can look at it too. I know Judge Brody will talk about use division, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. Again, this is to show you by ethnicity. This is from UCLA. Just look at that. Korean, if you're Korean, your acceptance rate is 10%. So here, if there are 10 students, 1 will get in, statistically. But I'm sure the fact that you're here, I know you don't have a chance. Same thing. Berkeley, if you're Korean, 13.5%. Can I say this? It sucks to be Chinese. 9.3%. They're so overrepresented in college. Their acceptance rate, as you can see from here too, Korean 10%, Chinese 8%, 8.0% UCLA, Berkeley 13.5%. So as a Korean, even though you're overrepresented, you're less overrepresented than Chinese, apparently. So you have a little bit of a shot. You can see that. Again, you can look at the data later. Same thing for everyone. If you're Korean, 30%. That should give you a little bit of breathing room, right? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about anybody, girls, who know study STEM, science. There you go. I love that. I have physics background, so. How about anybody else? Girls. Sorry guys, girls. We have one STEM. Anybody else? Nobody? So this is like useless then. I'll show you anyway. Right? Caltech. I want to show you Caltech data and then MIT. Who knows from Caltech or MIT? Do you mean like Caltech or MIT? It's like top schools, right? STEM. Who knows from Caltech or MIT? Okay. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. Who would be happy to go to Caltech or MIT? I said happy. Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Tough crowd. I wouldn't indicate anything. If I were you, I wouldn't say anything either. So, but anyway, so let's look at this. Freshman total applicant, look at the number. Men, 9,000, women, 4,000. Okay? Kind of natural. If I say that, it might be like sexist, it might be like being gender, like biased. But that's how it is. Okay? Let's see how many accepted. Men, 2.9% accepted. Look at that, women, 6.3% acceptance rate. Okay? Even though applicants is 9,000, 4,000, look at the number admitted. Same. So if you're STEM major, what does that mean? I'm only showing Caltech here, but then what does that mean if you're a STEM major? As a woman, you have a better shot. You have a better shot. Statistically, 100% true. But then who enrolled? The reason why they do that, because when they look at how many enroll, even though they admit almost the same students, less girls actually enroll. They do not enroll as much as guys, right? So, but then look at that. There's a big difference between Caltech. Which one's better? Caltech, MIT. Caltech is better. MIT is better. Okay. accepted. MIT admitted more women. Look at the acceptance rate, 3 to 6%, twice higher. So if you're applying, sorry guys, girls have a better chance. And this is where they say, if you're an Asian man, it's hard to get into good college. Okay? I'm not gonna say it. But then look at that number. Who actually goes to MIT? Look at that. Guys, 90%, if they get accepted, they go to MIT. 82% of women choose MIT. Caltech was about 50%. Which one's better? Apparently, students prefer MIT over Caltech. Trust me, I lived in Boston. I said this, Boston sucks. Weather sucks. I love it here. I know it's like 100 degrees out there, I still love it here. So that's only important stuff. The other is nothing to me. It's really, it's just data I'm showing you because like people want to know what's going on, but that's not everything. This is official data from Princeton, okay? These are the kind of things that, this doesn't have a, okay, doesn't matter. So these are the things that they say they're looking. So I'll start with academic. This is kind of important, so you should know. Again, you'll be able to see that later. Rigor, class rank, academic GPA, SAT, essay, recommendation, 추천서, interview, extracurricular activities, talent, character, first generation, alumni, geographical residence, where you live, state residency, religions, racial, volunteer work, okay, etc. And then Princeton says, you know what, this is what's the most important? Important, considered, not considered. Look at what Princeton very important. Rigor, before, by the way. Let me ask you one again. I know you're not going to say anything, but let me ask you that one. What is the most important thing? I have that on the list. What is the most important thing when you prepare your high school for college admission? What is, if I say one thing, just say one thing. What is it? Anybody? 뭐가 제일 중요한가요? 잠깐만요. GPA, right? Okay. Does everyone agree? GPA? Anybody else? What do you call? Object? It's something. What do you push? Judge Brody. Anybody object to that? Like anybody else? Class. Okay. So we have two. We'll see. Let's look at it. Let's start thinking. 이게 무슨 better? Okay, now it's working. So Yale, very, very similar. You can see that, right? Again, U of Chicago, they say, okay, some of them are not as important, which is like rank, GPA, SAT, we just consider it, everything else is very important, just like the same as Princeton, Yale. UPenn, very, very similar, right? So important stuff are all there. Look at Harvard. This is the definition, I think, very exemplary. This is Harvard show, the best definition of holistic education. Don't you agree? 하버드는 그렇게 얘기해요. 모든 게 중요하지 않고 모든 걸 고려한다. You know what? Holistic admission to me is, holistic admission that colleges say is, oh, we're choosing student, looking at it holistically, right? Like overall student. You know what that means to me? It means, you know, we'll choose whoever we want. That's what it is. That is holistic admission. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, everything we consider, nothing is very important. Is that true though? Right? But that's what, well, let's be a little bit more objective. Berkeley, they say, okay, very important, rigor, GPA, essay. This is from last year, so that's why SAT is still considered, not anymore. Let's look at UCLA. Yeah, UCLA, they just came out with a new one. They say SAT not considered anymore, it's illegal, right? but still very much important. rigor, GPA, essay, 나 치겠어만 할 수도. Stanford. Again, very similar to Princeton이에요. Basically everything is important. Academically, extracurricular, very important. USC, kind of important, right? Everything important here. Now, let me ask you then, what do you think is the most important? Is it GPA or rigor? I don't know if you have, yeah, I guess you paid attention. Rigor is the most important. Doesn't mean that, oh, can I take the most difficult classes and stop? No. But you could be a top here. What I'm saying is, you could get 4.0 perfect GPA, but if you didn't have the rigor, you're not going to get into any of this. That's what I'm saying. So I need you to understand that. But do not go and take, because some guy said that, you know what, rigor is really important, so I'm going to take the most difficult classes that I can. I don't even care if I can handle it. If you do that, you'll be in serious trouble. So know yourself. Based on your ability, based on how you've done, take the most rigorous classes. That's what I'm saying. Make sense? Okay. USC. I know when you're looking at this, okay, it's really nice. Okay, these are like very important. I see that, but then, it would be so much nicer if you know, this is like, I know parents, 부모님들이 뭘 원하는지 제가 충분히 잘 알아요. 이런 거 말고, 이런 거 원하지 않아요? 이런 거. 이거죠. 그래서 이렇게 되면 너무 좋겠죠. This would be nice, right? Right? You can dream, right? This dream about 10, 20 years ago were used by UC. When they banned 1996, when California banned affirmative action, when UCs employed holistic admission, they banned this. Before that, they were using this kind of point system. And guess who's using point system? Not in US. 한국이 어떻게 보면은 좀 더 fair 할 수 있어요. 몇 점, 난 924점 만점 떨어지고 926점 받으면 합격하는 그런 세상을 원하지 않나. I'll show you one more college before I move on. MIT. It's kind of important point, that's why. What is it? I mean, Harvard was unique, right? Harvard is it's like, whatever you make of it. But MIT, what's their job at MIT? Look at that. Look at that. Character. What does it mean? Everything is like important, but not as important as character. This is something that I think if you get anything out of this talk, if you're actually want to go to college, this is area that you need to most improve upon. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what MIT is looking for. Because what MIT is looking for is something that top colleges are looking for. Okay, so I'm going to get into a little bit. This is what MIT president once said. Getting education from MIT is like taking a drink from a fire hose. What does that mean? What does that mean? They'll keep giving you information. It never stops. The flow is so fast. You somehow have to take them all in. That hard. But so, in order to do that, that's kind of principle behind it. In order to do that, we need to seek students who can do that, who at least will attempt to do that, right? So first thing, they're not looking for loners. If you're good at studying by yourself, you're not collaborative, you're just like your own. MIT is not good for you. You gotta be through your what do you call it? Like recommendation, like whatever that you do, you gotta show leadership. You gotta show that you can collaborate. You gotta be initiated. You gotta be able to take risks. You gotta be able to take risks. If you're just doing things safely, yeah, maybe MIT is not good for you, so as other colleges. And then they look at depth and passion. I know President John talked about how passion is important. Extremely interesting. Being able to show that on your application, being able to show through your activities, really important. And dig one hole instead of digging many holes that you think will work. What I mean is, I'll give you a little bit of an example later. But yeah, depth, passion, really important. Yeah, that's the problem with 20-minute talk. I have to cut down basically a lot, but anyway, hands-on creativity. So you're just not looking for students who just like good at studying, learning, memorizing. Can you create something? Do you do anything? Have you done anything that requires, hands-on experience? It could be experience, something. And then, very important, intensity, curiosity is another word. Curiosity, I'm doing stuff because you're curious. And the curiosity has another one thing in front of it, intellectual curiosity. It's very important. Are you doing it because you're just naturally curious? That's why, if you're curious, what do? You seek out the opportunity. You want to do something, right? Then you still passion. That curiosity, passion, 2 keywords on your application, they should be shown. Otherwise, it's difficult. We're going to talk a little bit about tests. Not a lot. SAT, it's like, do they even matter? Do SAT matter? Yes. No. President Sun said. Judge Brody said no. Which one? Is it important? Yes. What's your name? The UPenn guy. Andrew. Did you take SAT?
I took the ACT.
You did? Sorry, same thing. SAT. You took ACT, right? Okay. Does it matter? Doesn't matter. To you, most likely it would. But listen. It is true, SAT is becoming less important. That's fact. However, MIT, Georgia Tech, you know what they did? They actually, through COVID, every other school was doing it, so they kind of abandoned it. They made it optional, and they realized, we made a mistake. We cannot like students just looking at school records. We need something else. So they reinstated. It's mandatory if you're applying to MIT, Georgia Tech. You gotta take that. But Columbia, on the other hand, is sending such big signals, like some schools are saying, we're making SAT important, some schools are, we're making SAT optional permanently. Some schools are doing this, like, we're looking at year by year. So some schools like, Harvard will say, we're making it optional for 2-3 years. Columbia just made it official. It's just an optional permanent. They can change that. They're not going to go in 10 years later and say, you know what, we made a mistake, sorry. We're just going to go back. Not going to happen. So, but it's not a decision that it's made lightly. But so here's the thing: test your card for colleges, MIT, Georgia Tech, Georgetown, Florida, Georgia. That's free. Most you see California State, and then because of the law, many colleges in California are not requiring SAT. So even if you get an SAT score, and that's good. You got like 1,500 or something in SAT, or 34, 35 in ACT. You want to send to UC application, I want to write it. No space. They even got rid of space. It's like a year before, they actually on the UC application, they had, you can write the score, but we're not going to evaluate that. But you were able to still write it. Not anymore. Because it keeps kind of the division officers kind of biased. Got rid of that, so you can't even write that. Even Cornell, some departments are doing that. Test optional, almost all other colleges. Columbia are making optional. Did I get started? Okay. So, anyway, so should I take it? Yes, you got test over. You know what colleges are required? Realize that we should have not made that mistake. May come back. High test score. Yeah, if you could score, send it. But here's the thing, I should prepare and take it to get the score, right? But the question is, do I take it, right? Do I even study for it? That's the question, right? Are you gonna spend a summer or a year or two taking this SAT or ACT every like few months. Are you going to do that? It's a big investment, money-wise, time-wise, all the investment, right? But then, I think you can make the decision, like, am I good at taking? So yeah, for example, scholarship, but I'm not good at taking tests. I think here's the thing, if you're aiming high, really good college, take it. Even though they say making it optional, and they're not showing statistically, but then behind the scenes, we know that students who are submitting SAT scores are admitted at a higher rate than who do not. Do you get that? So take that if you're applying to top colleges. But no, should I not take it because, I'm going to receive 100%. Don't take it. It's a waste of time, waste of money. You're not good at taking it. I just hate taking tests. I'm sure that students like that. I can do school, or I can do well in school setting, but then not that. Then don't take it. It's fine. Because you can spend that time much more efficiently doing other things. So I'll make the decision to you. Again, I don't want to go too much in detail, but AP exams though, AP exams is not going away. It is not. So since AP, funny thing, AP did not used to be that important. It's becoming more important. Why? Because they got no other measure stick. They just can't know which is better. So AP is the only standardized test that gives that kind of measure that's stick, right? So if you're taking AP classes, do that. Take AP exams again. I know some of you, I know a lot of students who are taking AP classes but realize, I'm not prepared, I haven't prepared enough, I don't think I'm going to get good score. They say, don't take the exam. Otherwise, the all year, that all the time you spent on that AP classes, it may not be as fruitful as you think. Take that. Passing grade is 3. If you get 3, it's pass. But passing, if you're aiming for a good college, it's basically fail. So 4 or 5, you gotta. So if you scored in 3, what do you do? Right? I put ... because your target score may be different, depending on the college you're applying to. You're applying to top college, you have to aim for. You may not have, but you still have to aim for 5. You just do. But 4 will do if it's like 4 and 5, mix of 4 and 5. If it mixes 3 and 4, top college, you just don't have a chance. And here's the thing. The reason I said take the exam, a lot of students, parents do not know, is that, you self-write your AP exam on the college application. Do you know that? You did that, Andrew, right? You self-write. When you say, then you just write it. You cannot lie though. You just have to write. But if you get 3, do not write. That's a tip. Do not write if you get 3, 4 or 5. Write it. Okay. 2 impacts. One is record decision. I'm sure Brody can talk hours about that, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just going to show some data. What will happen with this decision? Affirmative action is gone. It's a past. And trust me, parents, students who are sitting here today are going to benefit from it. 100%. 100%. No matter what they say, it's going to benefit you. Here's the thing. This is from Harvard data. What happened during that trial, which did you know it took 9 years? That trial. It started in 2014 and great legal system, Judge Brody, right? Sorry, don't do that. Sorry. It is, right? Anyway, during that process, so much data came out. I know you haven't read. I don't know if any of you read a little bit, but here's the thing. What we found, I'll share a little bit of information about that. In 2008, this is Harvard's own data. Harvard, they said, you know what? Right now, in 18, Asian students about 19%. If only quantitative factors means classes, AP, SAT, quantitative, right? Something they can see, measure. It will be 43%, or double, more than double. So Harvard will be half Asian. That's what Harvard own said. That's a conclusion they came up with. That's what they found. Outrageous, right? This is plaintiff legal argument, which is basically people who sued. Plaintiff, people who sued. Chinese, Asian, correlate, what? Anyway, we sued Harvard, basically. Let's just say that. This is from Duke economics professor. This is what he found, okay? This is for 5 years. He looked at the data. And he said, you know what? You know what that number is? 25% Asian male, white male 36%, Hispanic 77%, black 94%. If this is the same data was used, same spec, this is the acceptance rate of each race. That's what economics professor at Duke found. If race was not a factor, Asian would increase by 46%. That's the fact. Defense actually used Berkeley professor. You know how liberal Berkeley is. I went to Berkeley, so I'm going to say trash about Berkeley. I love Berkeley, but it is liberal. Berkeley said, we agree with what you said. That's what they said. We do. The data is not wrong. However, too much emphasis on academic factor. What is college for? Are we going? I do college for about academics. 대학에 공부하러 가는 거 아닌가? No. I find it, at least I'm glad that the judges found it offensive. So that's why they took our side. That's what I was saying. So much about. I'm going to talk a little bit about AI. I know it will affect you. I'm going to ask students again, who have not used ChatGPT? You have not used ChatGPT. Okay, great. Who else have not used ChatGPT? You. Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. ChatGPT, it changed the world. It did change the world, right? Andrew, have you not used ChatGPT? You have not. You could be. I am not saying it's a bad thing. I think you're misunderstanding me a little bit here. But I salute you for not using it. And what I want to say to you is that if you're using ChatGPT, use it wisely. Also use it for research purpose only. Okay? Do not ask them to write things for you. The moment you do that, you're gonna lose your ability to create. You're not gonna use your brain anymore. Okay? So if you haven't used it, and if you're tempted to use it, just use it for resources, research purpose. You got that? And it should help you. What will happen? It'll be interesting. Either this year, next year for sure. Even this year, because AI just came out. Colleges will start using AI to build your AI witnesses. What will happen? So we'll be like, AI versus AI. Is my AI better? Or is college AI better? Will they be able to tell that I used AI to write an essay? Or will they not? So it'll be like if you use AI to write an essay, and I know you'll be tempted, especially in December, you're writing like your application deadline is like a month away and you haven't written anything, you're just going to ask, you know what, write down. You spend that. What I can tell you is that almost guaranteed will be automatically rejected. Automatically, because they will use AI to detect what you wrote. Okay, so my prediction is that even though I know, because I said that I warned you, I know most of you will not, I guarantee there'll be so many students not knowing the consequences will blindly use ChatGPT, AI, and then later just stand up and then find out, no matter what their qualifications are, they're just automatically reject or how. Which means, if you know what you're against, if you know what to expect, you will not be one of them, then your chance of admission just went up. If you just use your own words. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy. I have 3. This is final. 3 strategies out of I know Ms. Byun talked about community college. When you're in high school, dual program or not, take community college classes. Anybody taking community college in high school? Good for you. Good for you. Anybody else? Great. Especially these days, right? So many classes are what? Online. Right? Right now, the first step I'm going to ask you today, when you go, if you're looking at YouTube or if you look at this, sign up for community college classes. Start taking community college classes. Show them you initiate. Show them you want to take advanced classes. Show them you get A's. Trust me, if you're going to high school, you're taking AP classes. Community college classes should be easier than your AP classes. And you should be able to get, if you get A's in those classes, you're basically showing to colleges that you are able to handle college level classes. And trust me, that's going to really help you. And this is something that everyone can do. It doesn't matter whether you're in 9th grade, 11th grade, take the community college classes. The subjects don't matter. Start with something that you're interested in, and then if it's and then anything that you're maybe interested in majoring, doesn't matter. Start taking classes. You can take it over summer. Because of the online nature of the classes, you can't even take them during the school year. Imagine, if you take anybody, 9th grade, students, 9th grade, 10th grade, okay, 10th grade, so you have 2 more years, right? If you start taking, you're already not taking it, community college class, but if you can take 1 class every quarter, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, you can take up to like 7, 8 classes, and then you remember, it's like, think about it. Take 7, 8 classes in high school, get A's, send it to a college of your choice when you submit an application. You're gonna stand out. Trust me, it's gonna help. Number 2, again, this is about activities. If you're doing something, any activities, do it. I know the panelists today actually talked about that. Passion, tax. That is really important. Just don't do it because like it's available. Just don't do it because like I get leadership. Do it more like linear. Kind of just do it. So if you're doing, I'll give you one example. But really, if your school doesn't have one, this is another thing. I told you MIT looking for what? Initiating students who initiate things. You can create a club. I know a lot of students do. Make a club in your school. You can do that. And leadership is extremely important too. Just don't be a member. Don't be a member. I know some colleges, I said, here, I will contradict some of the myths. Some will say, I'm sure you have heard, oh, you know what, leadership, even though it's important, what's important is your participation level. I'm sure you learned about it, you heard about it, right? As long as you're passionate about it, you participated, even though it's like a president, vice president, you don't have leadership, it's fine. Haven't you heard? I disagree. I do disagree. I didn't talk about that. I know UCSD admission officer was here talking about, the admission a little bit. But the reality is, you know how many minutes they spend on your application? You just said two readers, right? You know how many minutes they spend on your application? Anywhere from 3 to 8, 9 minutes. That's it. And they have to see everything. When I say 3 to 8 minutes, they have to see starting from your college transcript all the way to recommendation letter, essays, everything. They don't have time to read everything, but they'll see your leadership. Trust That's going to help. Last one. This is, again, very, very important. I know there are a lot of STEM interested students here. Research. This is a data from Penn. 1/3 of accepted students at Penn last year had some kind of research experience during high school. As a high school student doing research in college, it's really, really hard to get that. But if you can get that, that's going to really help. It's not just Penn. Colleges are looking for not just students, they're looking for scholars. Because in college, even though no matter what kind of students they select, when you get there, what you do is scholar work. You actually do research. And they want to see students, they want to select students who already have the ability. Application, you're going to stand out. What's even going to stand out more is if your work is published. For example, I know, what is the nearest college here? USC, right. Let's say you get some research position at USC, and then let's say you work 2-3 years. Like, work hard, impress professors, impress graduate students, impress whoever. And then you actually do experiment, and then, you know what? If there are reasonable, they're obligated to include your name on the research paper they write. They're obligated. If your work is anyhow related to these articles that they're writing, your name will be on it. If that happens, there's a big scandal a few years ago. Was it last year? I know some of you know, but I'm not going to get into that. It's going to make application extremely expensive. So how do you get that position? First, know what you want. Bio, chemistry, medicine, or like physics. It's got to be STEM, sorry. Social science, humanities, professors are now looking for research position students, so it's got to be STEM related. It could be engineering. Find your interest, you will need to know. And then, you got to research professors. What your interest, and you got to reach out. Reach out. Again, President John said that, oh yeah, you got to be persistent. You got to do. If you reach out, enough people, you just need to get one response, one positive response. You can reach out to 100 professors. You just need one. One says yes, you're in. When you're in, you can do work, you can write a paper, and you can go Harvard, Penn, MIT, who knows? If none of them fail, everything fails, none of them works, then there are research programs at universities that you can try. When I say formal research programs, I know USC, I know other schools, I know there's a course, but there are some programs. What I recommend, I'm going to say the $10,000 thing. Do not send your kid to Ivy League over summer doing some kind of program. I don't know if any of you have, or any of you planning to. It's going to cost you $10,000 to send a kid to do a 2 weeks program at UPenn, 2 weeks program at Harvard. When I was at Harvard over summer, there's so many students. I know it's like I was there to working, but it's like there's so many students like just hanging out, and I'm sure they're taking some kind of program. I don't think I've ever seen them in the campus next year or so. I don't think so. That $10,000, 2 weeks that you're going to spend is going to be complete waste. I 100% say that. So do not, especially, I'm not talking about some prestigious colleges. The programs that you apply and then it's like, oh, can I get in? Not like that. You apply, they say, you know what? You are accepted, trust me. Yeah, you're accepted to spend $10,000. That's what it is. So let me give you a strategy all together. I'll give you one profile. What do you want to major? Cognitive science, wow. Your high school student want to study cognitive science. I was thinking like biology, but then you know what you want. Excellent. Let's say you want to study cognitive science, right? What would you do in high school? Obviously you have to take all the biology related, chemistry related, AP classes, right? Start with that. And then 9th, 10th grade, you start looking for, I'm giving you a scenario, story. look for clubs in your school, because that's what you can do. Science club, it could be science club, it could be science research, science Olympiad, right? Bio Olympiad, chemistry Olympiad, even math club. Just do something related to what you want to do, right? If none of them apply, none of them is this, what do? Make a cognitive science club, right? That shows initiative. And then further, you seek out, if you live nearby, USC, UCLA, cognitive science department, seek out the professors, this is what I've done, this is what I want to do. One of them replies to you positively, you actually do the research program 2 years. You build that, not just a spec, you build the story. Because I wanted to study cognitive science, I've done all that. That's going to make you very, very, very strong. Again, you can download this credit, the whole thing is there. And then so you can just look it over, and then I hope it helps. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, we have Dr. Wonjong Kim. He's from Boston Education College. Come on out, Dr. Kim. Thank you very much, and welcome, Dr. Kim.
네. 짧게 하시다 보니 1시간을 하신 것 같습니다. 저는 좀 짧게 할게요. Hi, 저는 Boston Education의 College Counselor 김원종이고요. 오늘은 컴플리시로 할 거예요. 그래서 영어랑 한국어를 섞어서 할 건데 명문대 합격 학생, 저희 Boston Education에 다니는 학생들을 케이스 스터디를 바탕으로 한 합격 입학 트렌드를 말씀해 드릴 겁니다. 우선 지금 없던 학들이 진짜 charismatic하고 informative한 그런 talk 되게 감사드리고 잘 봤고요. 케이스 스터디를 통해서 이제 물론 statistics 그런 거 되게 중요하고 저는 학생들마다 geographic location이나 아니면 다니는 학교 President 브라이언 존께서 학교를 competitive 한다고 했는데 based on their circumstances and geographic location, what colleges are looking for will vary. So 그런 거를 consider 할 수가 있고 케이스 스터디를 통해서 또 학생들이 하고자 하는 major, and also so that also affects what kind of profile, what kind of activities you should be doing. 그래서 좋은 대학을 합격한 학생들의 그 레즈메를 바탕으로 이제 학부모님들이 나는 어떤 메이저를 하고 있는 타겟하고 있기 때문에 그런 어떤 액티비티를 해야 되겠다는 생각을 하실 수 있을 것 같아요. 또 그 final result, GPA, SAT는 그 결과만 보여주는 게 아니라 그 프로세스, 저희가 이제 컨설팅을 하면서 어떤 디시전 메이킹이 있었고 어떤 그 gradual한 프로세스를 볼 수 있는 기회가 될 수 있을 것 같아요. 그래서 학부모님들을 보면서 나는 이런 쪽 관심이 있어서 이런 비슷한 로드맵을 세워야겠다. 그런 플랜을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 그리고 이제 여러 가지 학생들을 다는 못 보여드리지만 보여드릴 텐데 그 학생들의 공통점을 하고 또 차이점 그런 걸 비교해 볼 수 있는 시간이 될 것 같아요. 우선 이걸 제가 간단하게 Students' names and change for confidentiality. 그래서 제가 이름을 좀 바꿨고요. 제가 이거 어떻게 설명해 드릴 거냐면 그 학생 gender, 그 geographic location하고 어떤 학교를 갔는지부터 학생들이 들어간 middle school, 그 다음에 아까 닥터 리께서 academic하고 non-academic factor 어떤 게 중요한지를 잠깐 보여드렸는데 그 중에서 이 학생들이 그 레즈메에 넣을 만한 그런 액티비티는 무엇이었는지를 제가 보여드릴 거고 그 다음에 보통 대부분 한국 학생들이 STEM 쪽이 많잖아요. 그래서 저는 이거를 first half는 STEM 그런 geared toward STEM major kind of students and the second part of this talk is going to be talking about non-STEM case studies. So 우선 first case는요 아나라는 학생인데 이번에 하버드에 early로 입학했어요. 아까 브라이언께서 early는 안 좋다고 했는데 그래도 합격한 학생들이 많은 경우 early를 저희가 보고 있고 MIT, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, UPenn까지 다 합격했습니다. She went to a boarding school in out of state. She got 4.8 GPA, a perfect SAT score. 그래서 이렇게 좋은 대학을 가려면 아까 중요시 생각했던 그 academic factors가 impressive 해야 된다. 그리고 she took 9 APs and she got 5s on all of them. Her main activities are math club. 그래서 she got 2 years cum laude society and AMC. AMC는 American Math Competition인데 한국으로 보면 수학 감시대회 같은 거예요. 그래서 AMC 10, AMC 12는 되게 competitive해요. 그래서 AMC 10 you only have 2.5% top students move on to AME. AME는 그 다음 단계고 그 다음에 AMC 12는 about 5% of students move on to AME. 그 다음에 physics, she did physics Olympiad and she got the semi-finalist. And she also did scholastic award and she did sculpture for art. She did community service and then she wrote about how quantum mechanics changed everyday life. Quantum mechanics는 그 전공을 하고 있는 그 physics, 학생이 전공을 하고 싶어하는 physics 분야 중에 하나죠. 애나는 처음 저희 학원에 7학년 때 왔어요. 7학년 때 와서 왔을 때부터 she was already 4 years advanced in mathematics. 그래서 학교 밖에서 AP calculus를 벌써 듣고 있었고 저희랑 왔을 때는 저희 이런 academic 물론 strength를 어떻게 대학에서 보는 non-academic한 그런 activity를 바꿀 수 있는 strategy를 이때부터 짜기 시작했어요. 그래서 AMC 8 그거는 American Math Competition 그런 competition math 클래스를 물론 진도는 많이 나갔지만 처음 접근하는 거라서 미리부터 준비를 했고 그 다음에 personality test를 통해서 자기가 좋아하는 특히 이해하는 여자 학생이었기 때문에 피직스 같은 그런 STEM 아까 그 caltech 뭐 MIT도 여자 학생들이 높았잖아요. 그런 이유 중에 하나가 여자아이들이 이런 걸 좀 덜 선호하는 편이죠. 그래서 계획을 세워서 피직스를 리서치를 먼저 피직스를 배우고 그 다음에 리서치를 7학년 중소부터 시작을 했어요. 그래서 좀 고등학생 학생들이랑 같이 이런 클래스를 시작했는데 벌써 9th grade 때 AMC 10을 패스할 수가 있었고 1절부터 이렇게 시작해서 그 다음에 AME를 통과하고 math club하고 physics club까지 이제 들으면서 이렇게 프로파일을 세울 수 있었던 것 같아요. 그러면 여기서 테이크홈 메시지는 뭐냐? 학생들은 탤런트를 아이덴티파이 하고 그것을 이제 좀 메이저 같은 그런 non-academic한 액티비티로 바꿀 수 있는 그런 전략을 일찍부터 짜서 그런 로드맵, 아까 프레지던트 저께서 말씀하셨죠? 학부모님께서 로드맵을 짜는 걸 도와줘야 된다고. 그건 아주 중요해요. 그래서 일찍부터 수학에 탤런트는 있었지만 그거를 컴피티션 매스로 바꾸고 또 그 다음에 피직스를 인터넷을 해가지고 리서치를 할 수 있는 그런 기회를 만들어서 케이스인 것 같습니다. 대부분의 이런 스템 같은 프로파일을 저희가 depth 프로파일이라고 그러죠. 그래서 한 가지 그 AMC도 그렇고 피직스 올림피아드도 그렇고 다 같은 관련된 분야를 이렇게 파고드는 그런 depth 프로파일이 스템에는 많아요. 그런 이유가 중에 하나는 대학에서 볼 때 오늘 세네터 민께서 대학에서는 우리 훌륭한 사람을 뽑고 싶어 한다 라고 그거는 너무나 좋은 말씀이신데 그게 진짜 맞아요. 그렇기 때문에 만약에 피직스를 전공하고 싶은 아이인데 그럼 어떻게 어필을 해야 되냐 나는 커서 좋은 피직스가 될 거다 노벨 프라이즈를 탈 거다 그런 걸 어필해야 되기 때문에 같은 그런 분야의 액티비티를 공격하는 적이 많죠. 또 한 가지는 학생들이 이제 그 분야에 패션이 있고 좋아하다 보니까 그런 비슷한 내용의 같은 피직스 같은 이 학생 같은 경우는 그런 액티비티를 많이 모아서 하는 것 같습니다. 두 번째 케이스는 이건 2년 전 벤이라는 학생인데 이 학생은 스탠퍼드가 드림 스쿨이었어요. 그래서 하버드도 됐지만 스탠퍼드를 가게 됐고 He went to highly gifted public high school. It was a large high school in Los Angeles. And his GPA was 4.8, SAT 1580. Again, similar to Anna, very impressive academic profile, right? And then he took 15 APs and got 13 5s. His main activities included research club. He was the president of research club. He was a speech and debate captain, and he also participated in science Olympiad. And also similar to Anna, he also did AMC 10 Penn, NC 12, and AME. Those are math competitions. And he also did research publications. This was one of the things that Dr. Lee just talked about, right? Do research and publish, and this is what he did. He also participated in Los Angeles Science Fair and California Science Fair. He came to us a little bit later in 9th grade, and when he first came, 저희 처음 왔을 때 자기는 비즈니스를 공부하고 싶다고 했어요. 그래서 오케이, 너는 리더십도 있고 우선 이 다음에 디베이트도 nationally ranked 학생이어서 오케이, 디베이트는 딱 잘 맞는 것 같다. 그래서 왜냐면 리더십도 중요하고 커뮤니케이션도 중요하고 수학도 비즈니스도 중요하기 때문에 그렇게 하려고 했는데 두 가지 문제가 있었어요. 첫 번째, 이 학생이 거기에 인트레스는 있었지만 에코노믹스나 뭐 스탁 마켓을 해본 경험이 없었고, 또 두 번째 학교 다니는 학교가 그런 비즈니스에 대한 인프라스트럭처가 없었어요. 컴피티션이나 그런 비즈니스 팀이 없었기 때문에 대신 저희가 새로운 파트를 서제스했어요. 이 학생이 벌써 저희한테 왔을 때 그 커뮤니티 서비스를 하고 있었는데 그게 무엇이었냐면 그 fertilizer, environmental fertilizer를 만드는 거였어요. 그래서 거기에 대해서 혹시 관심 있냐고 물어봤더니 거기에 너무 좋아하고 편한다는 그런 느낌이 있어가지고 그거를 environmental science engineering으로 바꿨어요. 그래서 그때부터 independent research를 하게 됐어요. 이게 또 왜 좋냐면 물론 디베이트는 커뮤니케이션을 이제 사이언스 리서치를 했을 때도 저희들 앞에서 이제 프레젠테이션 하는 스킬이나 그걸 설명, 라이팅 스킬도 되게 중요하기 때문에, 그리고 수학도 당연히 environmental science 같은 경우는 사이언스이기 때문에 그래서 중요해서 independent research를 하게 됐는데 우선은 저희한테 도움을 많이 받았어요. 첫 번째 저희 교수님이 하는 계신데 그 켜텍 PhD 분이 우선 이 학생 리서치를 직접적으로 도와주시고 그걸로 이제 LA Science Fair랑 캘리포니아 Science Fair 나와서 상을 타고 이제 그걸로 이제 다 나머지 여기 나와 있는 UCLA 인턴십이나 UC Santa Barbara 인턴십도 다 그 결과를 내서 he submitted this result and he got an email to professor. Professor, I did this research about environmental science. Can you take me as a summer intern? 아까 100명을 보내면 한 명이 연락이 온다. 근데 솔직히 진짜 힘들어요. 특히 요새는 그 하이스쿨 학생들을 많이 안 받아주는데 그래도 이런 리서치 경험이 있고 아니면 그런 리서치를 잘할 수 있다는 걸 보여주면은 이제 교수님들도 professors gonna be more willing to take students who have experience in research, who have capability to actually be useful rather than just having professors be babysitting them, right? So these are some of the profile that you need in order to kind of increase your chance of being accepted. He also did an internship at City of Los Angeles water plant에서 직접 인턴도 했고 그래서 이 모든 결과를 Southern California Academy of Sciences Publish까지 했습니다. 그래서 이런 결과로 스탠퍼드에 들어갈 수 있었던 것 같고 우선 number 3는 Kelvin인데 Kelvin, his GPA was 4.7. He also went to a large public school. It wasn't as high as Anna or Ben. He was actually ranked number 5. But he was the only person in that school who got into MIT. 그 학교에서 1등, 2등, 3등, 4등, 5등 다 MIT 못 들어갔는데 이 학생은 들어갔어요. 그리고 이 학생은 main activity는 he was working for an organization to help North Korean refugees and he also taught math to North Korean refugees. Similar to Anna and Ben, he also did AMC and NC12 and Amy, and he also did research. He did research publication. So taking these things together, a lot of the STEM students who are successful, who went to go on to Ivy League schools, have a lot of research publications. That doesn't mean to say you need to have that, but it's one of the things that have been working for a lot of STEM students, especially in our 학원. 이 학생은 10th grade 왔어요. 근데 왔을 때 좀 financial burden이 있었고 그다음에 이 학생도 strong math background도 있었고 피직스를 좋아한다고 했는데 이 학생의 취미가 stargazing이었어요. stargazing이 뭐냐면 그 별을 보는 거죠. 이 학생이 말하는 자기가 돈이 많이 없어서 많이 놀러를 못 다녔는데 대신에 스타를 본다고 해서 솔직히 저는 잘 이해는 안 가지고 그 합의를 바탕으로 저희가 이제 그러면 astrophysics 해보자. 그래서 여기서도 학생이 물론 이메일 쓰면 되는 경우도 있어요. 하지만 저희 이제 그 펄드에서 PhD를 하시는 astrophysics 선생님이 계신데 USC 교수님한테 아주 유명한 astrophysics 교수님한테 이메일을 써가지고 이 학생을 추천해서 이 학생이 인터뷰로 들어가게 됐어요. 이 교수님이 하이스쿨 학생들을 받아준 거는 처음이었고 그게 많이 도움이 됐어요. 그래서 거기에서 한 리서치로 그랬던 것 같아서 이런 모든 케이스 스터디를 통틀어서 what's common theme between these students? Well, they have different majors, but they all went to good schools and they have really good academics, right? GPA, SAT, and also for STEM majors, research and publication tends to be one of the common themes. 여기서 중요시 제가 말씀드리고 싶은 건 뭐냐? 물론 아카데믹이 자체로도 중요하지만 이런 non-아카데믹을 할 수 있으려면 아카데믹한 그런 스트레스가 필요해요. 왜냐면 학교에 갔는데 공부해야 되고 숙제해야 되고 시험 공부해야 되는데 다른 학생들이 할 시간이 어디 있겠습니까? 그래서 미리부터 특히 영어하고 수학은 아주 중요한 거라서 오늘 미ddle 스튜던트가 많이 오는데 저는 그런 말씀을 드리고 싶어요. 학부모님 그래서 집에서 아까 프라이머리 전이 표현을 읽는 거, 리딩, math 그런 거 미리부터 시작했으면 좀 많이 도움이 될 것 같습니다. 그러면 지금 두 번째로는 이제 non-STEM 스튜던트를 제가 말씀드릴 건데 이 학생은 이번 년에 A로 early action을 들어갔어요. 이 학생은 he went to private school in Los Angeles 그리고 아까 그 꼬리 뱀의 머리가 되라고 하시죠. 근데 그런 저희가 처음 봤어요. 이 학생이 그 academically 되게 rigorous한 학생은 아니어가지고 private school, a little bit less competitive school로 보내서 거기서 1등을 할 수 있게 했고 그 다음에 his GPA is 4.6 and he took 12 APs and got 10.5. His SAT is also strong, 15.8. So these are kind of profiles, again, you need to have a chance at top Ivy League schools. His main activities, he was the founder of his own nonprofit organization, and he was also a Los Angeles Mayor Youth Council. He also gave a TED Talk. It was a TED student talk where he talked about the importance of art. He actually got a lot of awards in art. He's actually quite talented. He even got Scholastic gold medal. That's the national level award. And his essay was about how he founded during the pandemic this organization that he created, this nonprofit organization. He actually came to us very early. 저희 그 학생 형이 저희랑 해가지고 좋은 데에 들어가서 일찍부터 했는데 이 학생은 보통 에이전 보이랑은 좀 달랐어요. 보통 에이전 보이는 말도 좀 잘 안 하고 이렇게 수학에 포커스하는 아이라면 이 학생은 he was talkative, he was outgoing, 말도 잘하고 artistic한 스킬이 있었어요. 그래서 이걸 저희가 커뮤니케이션 메이저로 해서 여러 가지 STEM이나 리서치 포커스가 아닌 outside of school activity를 많이 시켰어요. 그래서 non-profit organization 하는 것도 도와줬고 young scholar는 summer 프로그램인데 그리고 아까 아트를 잘하는 거죠. 그래서 아트를 이제 importance of art, student TED Talk을 통해서 college essay는 이제 라이팅을 통해서 어필을 하는 거라면 이 TED Talk은 비디오를 통해서 자기가 관심 있는 분야가 뭐고 그거를 프레젠테이션을 통해서 알려줄 수 있는 기회라서 아주 훌륭하게 써졌던 것 같아요. 그래서 이 학생은 아까 그 ABC, 아나, 벤, 캘빈이랑은 좀 다르게 걔네들은 좀 이렇게 depth 프로파일이었다면 이 학생은 좀 breadth 프로파일. 그래서 액티비티가 리더십도 있고 텔톡도 있고 아트도 있고 그런 거를 breadth 프로파일을 하고 있는데 그런 프로파일을 그래도 잘 엮어서 에세이랑 텔톡을 잘 엮어서 좋은 결과가 있었던 것 같습니다. 그리고 마지막으로 제가 말씀드리고 싶은 케이스 하나는 지금까지보다는 조금 아카데믹하는 떨어지지만 좋은 대학에 들어갈 수 있는 학생인데 이 학생은 유펜을 early로 됐을 학생이에요. She went to our public school and her GPA was 4.3, which is compared to other students I've shown you so far, is a little bit less, and her SAT was a little bit lower as well. but she took 9 AP. So her main activity was she founded a club to help low-income students, and she volunteered to tutor students, and she did taekwondo. 이 학생은 처음 왔을 때 아카데믹이 10학년에 왔는데 아카데믹이 좀 약한 부분이 있었어요. 그리고 her mom was she was suffering from illness, so 좀 멘탈한 스트레스도 많고 하고 싶은 걸 많이 못했던 그런 상태에서 저희한테 왔는데 저희가 이 10학년 때 왔을 때 모든 거를 다 시킬 수는 없었다고 판단했어요. 물론 이 학생이 지금 좀 A랑 B가 왔다 갔다 하는 상태에서 저는 이제 모든 걸 할 수 없겠다. 하지만 튜러링을 통해서 우선 다 A를 받고 최대한 she ended up with a couple B's at the end still, but 최대한 좋은 GPA를 메인테인 하고 나서 그 다음에 할 수 있는 걸 하자. 그래서 지금 밸런스를 맞추자. 성적이 잘 안 되는데 모든 액티비티 하려고 하면 GPA도 안 나오고 할 수 있는 것도 없어요. 그런 거는 소용이 없어요. 가장 중요한 부분이 그래도 아카데믹한 부분이라서 그거를 먼저 하고 나서 밸런스를 맞춰서 액티비티를 해야 됩니다. 그 대신에 이런 거 컨버션 어워드나 volunteer 통해서 이제 저희는 이제 personal statement도 아까 보여주신 부분에 되게 중요한 부분은 파악이 됐는데 그거를 승부를 보자. 왜냐면은 나는 그래도 좀 유니크한 시츄에이션이 있고 할 수 없는 거를 잘 이렇게 할 수 없었던 걸 어떻게 이겨냈는지 그걸 써서 이 학생은 좋은 결과, 제가 솔직히 말씀드리면 운이 되게 좋았던 것 같아요. 그런 결과가 있었던 것 같아요. 오케이, 이거는 아까 Dr. 리가 보내주신 슬라이드랑 똑같아요. 학교들이 중요시 생각하는 요소, 제가 지금까지 터크를 서머라이즈 해보자면 academic contractor, 그 다음에 non-academic contractor를 둘 다 잘 해야 된다. 그리고 이거는 저희 나름대로 이 아까 보여드린 이거를 common data set를 numerically 하게 represent 해본 건데 이거 아까 rigor class가 가장 중요하죠. 저희도 뭐 그렇게 생각하고 그 대신에 GPA도 그만큼 중요해요. 그 다음에 standardized exams, essay 요새는 더 확률이 높아졌는데 그 비율이 높아졌는데 이런 거를 잘 알고 그 다음에 ECA, talent, character까지 좋게 만들려면 탤런트를 early부터 아이덴티파이 해가지고 그거를 non-academic한 그런 액티비티로 컨버트 할 수 있는 로드맵을 일찍부터 짜라. 그래서 이거를 다 같이 그러면 마지막으로 제 컨클루전 말씀드릴게요. 학생이 하고자 하는 메이저 그거를 자기 학생의 스트렝스를 좀 일찍부터 발견을 해서 그것을 이제 액티비티랑 어치브먼트를 연결될 수 있는 플랜을 짜라. 그 다음에 도와줄 수 있는 사람을 찾는 건 전 좋다고 생각해요. 물론 학생이 지나간 expired 된 인턴십 노리스를 보고 연락을 해서 인턴십 탈 경우도 있지만 힘들어요. 힘든 경우 아는 선생님 커넥션이 있으면 그런 랩에 들어가기도 쉽고 그런 리서치를 인터스한 리서치를 끝내서 그 리서치를 바탕으로 더 커넥션을 쌓기 쉽습니다. 또 중요한 에세이도 컨설턴트가 있으면 훨씬 도움이 많이 돼요. 그리고 마지막으로 제가 가장 어떻게 어린 좀 지금 유튜브를 보고 계시는데 어린 학생들한테 제가 말씀드리고 싶은 건 일찍부터 academic strike가 그래도 키예요. 저희가 무슨 전략 뭐 이런 컨설팅 들어가서 무료들 액티비티도 한다고 하지만 그래도 가장 중요한 거는 academic strike예요. 영어도 잘하고 수학도 잘하고 그걸 잘 해야지만 그 다음에 나은 academic한 액티비티를 할 수 있는 그런 여유가 생기기 때문에 그거 없이 모든 걸 하려고 하면 솔직히 힘듭니다. 제가 오늘 시간상 많은 제가 특히 USC하고 UCLA 같은 명문대이기 때문에 그런 학생들도 다 설명해드리고 싶었는데 지금 시간상 그거는 불가능한 것 같고 혹시 거기나 다른 저한테 궁금하신 분들이 계시면 저희 Please Boston Education 저는 김원종 컨설이고 저희한테 연락해 주시면 제가 상담을 통해서 좀 더 자세한 내용을 말씀드리겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
Well, let me introduce the next speaker. A very interesting guy because he has many jobs. His main job is that he's a judge of Pasadena Office of Appeals. And also, he's a college rep for UC Davis. And he reads basically applications for UC schools, so he picks who gets in. And also, he learned how to speak Korean, right? So he has a daughter, he's also a father. He has a daughter who speaks Korean pretty well, I heard. So please welcome Judge Robert Brody.
Annyeong everyone, I'm Robbie Brody. My presentation is short, so I will not keep you too long. I am a judge in Pasadena. I went to UC Davis, and I am a college rep for Davis at high schools here in LA, and I read UC applications. So my presentation is going to be about what can we do to best increase our chances of graduating from a UC school. Before I do, I have to give a shout out to the Southern Mr. June. This guy is awesome. He is behind so much going on in our community, whether it's the Korea Times or the Hollywood Bowl, Korean Music Festival, or the HankookTv app for your K-dramas. This guy's awesome, and for putting this on, so thank you, Mr. June, for reaching out to people interested in college applications. If you want my K-drama recommendation, it's Golden Spoon. It's awesome. If you eat from the Golden Spoon, you become rich. It is one of the best dramas I've watched in a long time. So let's talk about graduating from a UC school. And notice that I don't say going to a UC school as a freshman, because I don't want to leave out the best kept secret in LA, which is community colleges. Oh my gosh. Right now, we have a California Promise program. They're free. They're free up until including the books. So, if you are not ready for your four-year school and you want to start at a community college, you know there are over 100 in California. I think there are LACC, GCC, PCC. Not only can you go at almost no cost, but you can guarantee your admission to a UC school through the TAG program, transfer admission guarantee, along with pathways to every other UC. So look, parents, kids, don't write off the community colleges because they're there, and when you transfer, your degree is from where you graduate. So if you transfer to UCLA after 2 years at LACC, you have a degree from UCLA. So now, let's talk about increasing our chances for getting into a UC. I think everybody knows there's 10. One is graduate school only, that's UCSF. But there are 9 UC schools, and they're all good. Not only are they all good, but they all have degrees you can take anywhere in the world. You tell people you went to UC, fill in the blank, that is something. That's over some small school in Washington or Oregon that no one's ever heard of. These 9 UCs are great. Okay, so what do we do? Well, when you apply, when it's time to apply, there's one application for all 9 of them. So most people apply to at least 5. You're going to apply to lots of UC schools, and we, readers, don't know that you apply to any other ones. So we all think, oh, they just applied to Davis, that's so cool, when they apply to all 9. So do it, and when you write your essays, don't mention one. Don't say, that's why UCLA is my dream school, because then we're going to be like, oh, thanks. Keep your essays. That's why I'm thinking about the University of California. So you're going to apply to lots of schools. Unlike these privates, there's no early anything with the UCs. You get your application in by the day after Halloween, and then everybody finds out at once in the beginning of March where they got in. So there's nothing to worry about with early admission. And now, let's see, what are the best ways to prepare for that UC admission? I'm going to get, as somebody that reads applications all the time, I'm going to give you my 5 favorite things, many of which were talked about already. What do we look at when we're going to admit students? Well, as has been said by many students, including Dr. Lee, by many speakers, the first one is your grades, right? Your grades are what they are. Now, we look at you in the context of your high school. So we see what everybody else at your high school got as their grades, and we see your grades. So we are comparing you not against a fancy pants school and not against a doggy school. We are comparing you against your school. So the first thing is your grades. And the second thing, which many speakers have talked about, is how did you get those grades? Did you take AP and honors classes that were available? Now, some high schools have like 4 or 5 APs. So if you took 1 or 2, wow, you're already at the top of the game. Other high schools have like 40 APs. Well, we are going to look in the block when we're reading your application of how many AP classes you took. Now, is it worth taking it if it's going to be a dud? No. But if it's a class that you like the teacher, you think you're going to do well, definitely take as many AP classes as you can. Let me just grab my water. Don't take a picture of this. I don't want anybody to think, don't need it. Okay. Perfect. I think a couple of speakers have also mentioned these community college classes. Oh my gosh, they're a dream because generally nowadays they're online, they're not hard, and you get full college credit. So when we look at your community classes, most are online or are taught at your high school. Absolutely a super plus. I don't know why more students don't do it. Of course, if you don't have room, you don't have time, not a necessity, but definitely something that distinguishes you from other students. So we've got your grades, and we've got the classes that you took to get your grades. Okay, those are, I'm going to give you the 5, my 5 secret, best things. Those are on the first one. The third one is going to be your activities. So some speakers have talked about this in terms of school activities. The idea is all the ABCs, we all want to pick the future leaders of the world. So the idea is, are you a leader in your high school life? So, every student can join the Key Club. That is not going to get you very far. The idea is, where were you a leader in your club, in your sport? The coach picked you to lead the team. I was the vice president of my club. I'm the treasurer. Wow, those are things, yes. Leadership roles that you took that distinguish you from other students. Absolutely. Some people for activities, oh my gosh, it's a mile long. And there's no limit on what you can put. Think outside the box, students and parents. Your activities are not limited to in the classroom. I'm talking about outside the classroom, after school, in the home, at church. There's just no limit to the number of things. You really have to sit down and think, what do I do with my time when we talk about activities? Now, I read an application of a student who put watching Netflix as his activity. Well, okay, that is not the best, putting your best foot forward there. But how about taking care of a younger sibling? How about preparing meals? How about working? You would be amazed how many students apply to college that have never had a job. I mean, wow. You know, I find that hard to believe. I don't know, I worked all through high school, and most of the kids that I know did too. But that's where you put that. That's where you put your activities. I think it shows some real perseverance and interest in learning about the world and being responsible. Well, that's where it goes. After activities, did I do 4 things so far? Let me make sure I got them all. Your grades, the classes that you took. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that one. Test scores. As you know, the UCs not only don't require the SAT or ACT, but they will not consider it. So if you took it, we decline to accept the score, so we will not know. So you know what, students, parents, if your idea is to go to a UC, I wouldn't waste my time. I would do other things. I would not overly stress about the SAT if you want to go to a UC school. If you want to go to UCLA or Berkeley or Davis or Irvine or Santa Cruz or San Diego, if that is your goal, you want to stay in this state, you want to be a little closer to home, unless you love taking tests, I would not stress about the SAT. It's not coming back anytime soon. But, as Dr. Lee pointed out, what is totally back are AP scores. So there is a part on the application that we see when we read it, AP exams. And any AP class that you took, nowadays, lazy teachers make that their final. So you're going to be taking that AP exam anyway. But if you want to get the Barron's book at Barnes & Noble, you can take AP exams for classes that you don't take. So you can get that AP score of a 4 or a 5. Why not? Some students, you know there's no way they took all those AP classes. They just took the exam, but boy, is it nice to see 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 5. When you look at those AP scores, it really demonstrates you're reaching for the rigor. As Dr. Lee and the rigor offered at your school. And again, if there are very few AP classes offered at your school, no problem. But certainly, if you're up for it, do it. Now, if you start a class, 10th grade, 11th grade, and you're in an AP class that looks like it's going to go downhill, just drop it. Just move down to the regular class. Well, why be stuck with a C when you can end up with an A in the regular class? So I would say, if you are up for it, definitely those APs make a big difference. So the 5th and final thing, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, are those essay questions. I tell students all the time, oh man, a good answer on one of those essay questions can get you in, and a dud will not help you. So with the UCs, you have 8 choices. You're going to pick 4 and write 200 words or so on each one of those. So on one of them, you're going to pick triumph over adversity. On one of them, you're going to pick a particular skill. And, you're going to pick 4 that demonstrate something great about you. And what are you going to write? Well, as a number of speakers have said, we read a lot of these. So Davis last year, we're going to take 5,000 questions. Guess how many applications we got? 105,000. Oh my gosh, wow, that's crazy. So that's a lot of applications to read. I say you want your essays to be enjoyable and interesting. I just was reading one about somebody who wrote their essay about that they failed the driving test 10 times. I thought, it showed they stuck to it and it was interesting, but you gotta write those essays. I'm telling you, it is such a big part of the UC application. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. So when you're looking at those essay questions, for example, what have I overcome? Well, maybe you might think, nothing. I haven't overcome anything, with my family. Well, think about it. What's going on in your life? Maybe while you're a high school student, you lost a loved one, a grandparent. Maybe your parents are separated and you spend some night at one house and some night at another house. You have to bring your books and all that stuff. Wow, that sounds like a challenge, and you still got good grades? Oh my gosh. That's something I want to read about. Think about, I've had students tell me, well, I don't have anything to write about. And the more we talk about it, they have plenty to write about it. How about that you work? How about that you work after school in your parents' store, or you work to help out your family, or you've chosen a public school that's great, that's one bus ride away, or two. Think about what you're doing that other kids maybe are not doing. A lot of students write about, the reason I'm not in 10 clubs is because I'm 16 and I have a brother who's 1. And both my parents work and I have to take care of my younger sibling. Well, we want to know that. So you want to pick essay answers that tell more about you. Remember, what's interesting about the UC application is we do not know your name. It's name blind. We don't know your gender, and we don't know your name. So if you want me to know your name, if you're, for example, a young female that's interested in STEM, we always want more of those, you've got to work that into one of your essays. You've got to say something like, I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, Mary Kim, you're awesome. That's how you do it. You have to somehow work it in, because that Supreme Court decision everyone's talking about, we haven't had affirmative action in 25 years in this state. We take a holistic view of the application, and you've got to work those things in on your own. All we see that's somewhat personal is the name of your school, and then we see information about your school. Like, you've got to fill in the rest. If you want to make it clear that English is not your first language, or you have to do the translating in your family for parents or grandparents at the DMV and reading the mail and all that stuff, that's what we want us to do. Makes a big difference for you, and they are added things that we want to know about. So those are my 5 things to think about when you're doing your UC application. Last thing. The last thing on the application is there anything else you would like us to know? Well, your answer should always be yes. Do not leave that blank. That is another opportunity to let your reader know something about you. So, a lot of students use that space to talk about a bad grade. They'll say, dear reader, you may notice that I got a C in AP Physics in the spring, and I want to explain what happened. The teacher got sick, we had 15 subs, there wasn't any direction, or I got mono, I wasn't there. We want to know it. And you know what? It makes a difference. We will look at that grade in a different way. Do not leave that section blank. There's one more thing I want to tell you about me before I close my application. I'm not documented. I don't know where I stand, because that's irrelevant for a UC admission. Anything else that you can't fit in somewhere else that makes you different from other students and worthy of admission is going to be super helpful to an admission director. So, I'm not going to go on, but I'm going to hang around if anybody has any specific questions about UC applications. Then come and find me when it's over. Okay, thanks very much.
All right, so the event comes to an end, and we have 2 students who just got in, one of the really good school, Ivy League school. So we have a Renee Lee. You guys are here, to be, if you're kids, you guys are here to be like them. If you're parents, you want to make your children to be like them, right? So it's going to be very important part of this event, Congratulations.
Hi, so I'm Renee and I just went to Cornell University and that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 4 years. And I kind of want to outline what I've been doing for the past 4 years because we've seen a lot of numbers, we've seen a lot of tests, and we've kind of done a review of what everything means. But something that was really important to me was figuring out what I really wanted to do. So when I first got into high school, I really had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to be an engineer, a doctor. Like, these are all really great choices. And I had interest in every single field. So when I first got into high school, I wanted to be in every club. I wanted to explore business. I wanted to explore STEM, you know. So I was in a bunch of school clubs. But then I found out, I started talking to some upperclassmen and asked, hey, how can I figure out what I actually want to do, and how fast should I do that? How important is it to figure out how I want to streamline my high school experience? And they all told me, hey, you know, use the first semester or the first year to figure out what you really want to do. And I don't think anyone here is a freshman, but I'm sure everyone here, or the students here, actually kind of have an idea of what they want to do. And it's important, I think, to pursue these, and not just for school, but also outside. So one of the most important things that I did personally was I was part of the Mayor's Youth Council for environmental science or environmental protection. So starting in 10th grade, this was during the pandemic, I took AP environmental science, and I thought this class was really interesting. So starting then, I wanted to pursue that field of environmental science, and that's what I applied for college. So starting then, I started looking for research opportunities, things that I could do outside of school to kind of say, hey, this is what I want to do in college, this is what I want to do in the future. So I think it's important that you really get out of your comfort zone. So I'm not typically the leader type, I'm not very talkative, I'm not super outgoing, but it's important, I think, that you step out of that comfort zone and really tell yourself, you know, it's nice to try new things. So that's why I kind of joined that leadership group, because I thought it would be important to be a part of some kind of change, right? And this is like something that colleges want to see, I think. And it was really a good experience for me. I'm not saying that obviously you have to be part of the Mayor's Youth Council or anything big like that, but it was a good experience in the sense that I got to meet a lot of people. And I think that meeting people is a really important part of growing up, the high school experience. I think it really helped me build my college application because I knew so many new people. And it was just great for me to experience, like, this is what I want to do, and this was a great experience for me. But up to leading to that point, beforehand, I was kind of like confused. I don't know what I should do, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have been through that experience where you don't know if this is the right thing to do, is this the right class for me to take, is this the right activity for me to do right now? To address that, I kind of want to say, if you have one interest, then go for it. I think you should put in all of your energy into doing this one thing if you're truly passionate about that. But I didn't find a passion until the end of 10th grade. So this is kind of a late start for me. So it turns out that my application wasn't the type of applications that you saw earlier in the presentations. I'm not a national level engineering student. I didn't do a national competition. I wasn't part of an international team or anything. But there is some benefit to being a well-rounded student. You're good at a lot of other things. You can do writing, you can do science, right? And I think this in itself is a strength. So you don't have to stress out about being this amazing god at chemistry or this god at physics, right? I think there is value in having a lot of different skills and putting that together to make your own story or become your own person. I think an important thing for me, though, was class rigor. So especially in senior year, I think a lot of people try to think, well, senior year doesn't matter, I don't need to take hard classes anymore, this is the year that I can slack off. I don't think that's true at all, actually. I think it's really important to keep pushing yourself, you know, especially if you don't have that, hey, this is an international biology champion, right? Which not most people are. So I think it's important that you say, hey, I'm going to keep trying until the very end. It's just a very good resolve to have, and makes a good impression on colleges. Like, you're going to keep trying even though you know you're almost done. So I think that was a really important part of my journey. Personally, I would say that even if I didn't have that one interest or that one thing that I really wanted to pursue, it was really good trying to experience a lot of different things at once, because it kind of prepares you for a lot of different things. Like, for example, if you are really good at this one thing, but you have a weakness in something else, I mean, I feel like it's just nice to be balanced, right? It's just not saying anything against people who are really good at one thing, obviously, but this is just kind of words of encouragement, because I know that most people don't have one specific strength. Most people are well-rounded or good at a lot of different things. So I'm trying to say it's good. It's not a bad thing to not have a specialty. It's not a bad thing to not be incredible at one thing. That was something that really that kind of took a toll on my self-confidence personally, because I knew a lot of people who were really interested in the medical field, were really interested in arts. And I thought, oh, I'm at a disadvantage because I don't really know what I want to do. But when you find that one thing that you want to do, that's the real reward, I think. And I found a lot of different research. That's what I did research with during my senior year, which is not too late, by the way. I did a lot of things in senior year. I was part of the Mayor's Council in senior year. Senior year is not too late, right? It's never too late to start doing something, so don't be discouraged about, oh, I didn't do this starting 9th grade. But on that note, I also want to say that if you did start something in 9th grade, or you did start something in the 10th grade, I think it's really important to hang on to that. It's important to have this wide breadth of things that you can do, or things that you have, and I think persistence is a really good factor in showing colleges that you're this kind of person. I'm going to keep trying even though I've been doing this for 6 years and I don't really like it. But it shows colleges that, you know, you're always going to try, that you're never going to give something up because you don't like it anymore, because it's too time consuming. So a lot of the activities that I did over 4 years at least. So I think that was kind of something that was really important to me, especially because I don't have that hook. Persistence in itself, I think, is a really good strength. Is a hook showing that, oh, I'm this kind of student. I'm this kind of student who's not going to give up. I'm going to keep doing this. Because even though it takes up a lot of my time, I'm learning a lot of things from it. And one of the activities that actually I disliked the most ended up being my ComNap essay. So, you know, there's prizes everywhere. So don't be discouraged, basically. That's kind of my point, because that's kind of what I felt throughout college, because a lot of my upperclassmen and peers, even in the same year, they all have this one thing that they were amazing at. I knew this one upperclassman who was amazing at writing, right? And I wanted to kind of, I knew this person also who was also really interested in writing, or this person who's really good at chemistry. And it's kind of disheartening to see, it can be actually kind of discouraging to see, oh, I'm not a national champion. But just know that that's not the only way into an Ivy League, or that's not the only way to a top 20. There's a lot of different strategies, and I think the only thing that's really, really important is that you build your own character, that you're not trying to be somebody else, that you're really true to yourself, and you're not trying to make up this story like, oh, don't try to be somebody else, basically, in your essays. It's important to show colleges that you are who you are, and that you're not a mirror image of anyone else. And that doesn't matter if that mirror image that you're trying to copy is just an academic god, right? So you don't have to be like inhuman to go to an Ivy League school. That's kind of my main point, because my entire application was it was very round. I didn't have one thing. right? Like I keep saying. And there was a lot of different things that I kind of dabbled in. I did a lot of community service. I did orchestra. And I think that if I had to choose one thing that made me stand out among the very talented, very smart students in my grade, I think it would be persistence and trying to tell the colleges, I know I'm not the top of the class. I'm not number one. I'm not the valedictorian in my grade, but I can do all of this stuff. So it's important to know where your strengths are and build your story off of that. I kind of want to touch on what I wish I did or wish I knew, though, before applying to college. And one of these was, first of all, knowing what I wanted to do. I think it's still important that you have something that you want to do, a central point in all your extracurricular activities. So what I'm trying to say is it's really important to have a link between every single thing that you do. I found that if I had an activity that didn't fit in with the rest of mine, I wouldn't leave it out. I wouldn't write about it because there was no place for me to write it. But I think it's more meaningful when you can weave in everything that you did into your story. But, oh, this meant a lot to me, and then I started doing this, right? I know your essay is not supposed to be a story about your achievements. That's not what an essay is. But it does help characterize who you are. So for example, my essay for Cornell actually was about my interest in birds. And I kind of connected that through Science Olympiad. Because I did a lot of ecology-related things in Science Olympiad, and then I connected that through my internship experiences. And I said, here, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I'm going to do at your school. Not every essay is structured in the same way, I understand, but it is also, I think, the reason why I'm saying that it's important to have one interest is because ultimately you apply to college with a major that you want to do, right? You click to that thing, you say, oh, I think I'm interested in this major. So I'm saying that it is important to have a central point. It's not, you can obviously apply undeclared, but I think it makes your story a lot more solid if you have something that makes your interests a little bit more grounded. So I wish I did know that it's important to still have one interest or one a point that stands out to you. But also, you don't have to really stress out about being the best in your grade at that one thing. So that's also something that I wish that I knew. But then again, I think if I did know that, I wouldn't have tried as hard, to be honest. So I think it's just really important. I think the most important part is to just keep trying until the end. Your journey is not over until you get that acceptance letter. So even after you turn in your applications, it's important to keep being involved because you can update your applications. It's important to keep being involved in your community, in your school, and it's not a point where you should start slacking off. And I think that's something that's really important that doesn't really get said. So yeah, I think in a lot of these college seminars and these education seminars, people tend to focus on, oh, what's your SAT score, what's your AP score? But in reality, I think the strongest thing about your college application is going to be your essay. It's going to be about telling the college what kind of person you are. Because ultimately, they're accepting you as a human being rather than your resume, right? And they want to see if you're really going to fit in at their school. So for me, my dream school was actually Cornell. So I did spend a lot of time researching what Cornell was like and kind of tailoring my application to fit in with what they wanted. So, yeah.
So is that your early action?
So I applied an early decision and then I got deferred, so I got accepted regular decision. Yeah.
How long did it take you to start your essay?
Oh, my essay, I started way later than most people, which I don't recommend really because I went to 25 colleges and writing that many essays in half a year is not fun. So I recommend that you start like now. At least planning it out. You don't have to write it all now. But for my Cornell essay, I did start a lot earlier because I applied early. So I spent maybe a month just on that essay, or I think 2 months just on the Cornell essay, which is actually, I don't know if that's short or long for just a single application, but I do recommend that you start writing essays early because I did not have fun staying up every single night to write my essays. So yeah, definitely start planning them now. What do you want to put in every essay? Start looking at the prompts, you know, outline what you want to put, you know, a focus maybe. Every prompt is different, so you're not gonna copy paste the same essay ever. I did this like twice maybe, because the prompts were similar, but even then you do have to change it up. So don't try to rely on, oh, I'm going to use this essay, I'm going to use this essay. You have to write like 60 different essays. It's a lot. Yeah. A scholarship? I did not apply for any outside scholarships. Actually, I did apply to the Coca-Cola scholarship, but I didn't get that one. So I know a lot of people at my school who did though, and they are very rewarding, so I would recommend that people actually do that. I didn't really look into scholarship opportunities in the first place, which is actually something that I do regret because obviously college is expensive. So yeah, that too, that's really important. Start looking for scholarships, start writing essays for those too. And yeah, and a lot of different schools actually do give you scholarships just from their schools. So you can apply to the school scholarships when you apply to their school. So for example, oh no, I did financial aid, but I didn't do a separate scholarship. Yeah. So a lot of different schools have scholarships within their school though, so you can apply for those. I did those. So for example, Boston University has a lot of different ones where you can get full rides. Those are really good, so that's something that I would recommend. I didn't do any outside scholarships, meaning I didn't do anything that was not from the university. But those are also really important, so you should definitely try out for those too. Yeah, I think that's basically the main point of what I wanted to say to everybody. So I can hand over the mic to Andrew.
All right, so this is the last segment. We're gonna bring Andrew Lane, who just got in a UPenn on the decision. So he's gonna share his story.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so my name's Andrew. I got into UPenn this year for early decision. And I graduated from University High School in Irvine, California, which is about an hour south of here. And, you know, I agree with a lot of things that Renee said. And, you know, I agree with a lot of things that the panelists have said in terms of course rigor and all the academic stuff. But the biggest thing that I want to emphasize is the stuff outside of it. So I was blessed with kind of an easy college application process. Obviously getting in early, I didn't apply to 25 schools. I didn't have to do all that. I got the, and it was binded, and then I was kind of done from there. But I was able to be kind of like an outside spectator from that point on, watching my friends, watching my peers go through the application process, and I was able to witness a lot of different things. Friends would ask me for advice, and people would ask me what I did. And I really saw that there's a difference between something that I call the tangibles and the intangibles. And the tangibles are the things that you see, the statistics, the ones that we saw today. You know, the GPAs, the SAT scores, and you know, the extracurriculars and the awards that you get. But there's also the intangibles, which I think are arguably more important. And the intangibles are the things that you see in a very small portion of things. I feel like you can only really see them in essays or interviews. It's the character traits that you have, the personality, the things that make you for who you are. And I think the biggest thing that, as an applicant, the biggest thing that you want to focus on is building those intangibles, and not only building them up, but making them noticeable for the readers. Right? And so I think the thing for me was that, you know, I always have been someone who's always tried to go into leadership. I've tried to, you know, always be someone who's kind of like a beacon in the communities that I'm in, the schools that I'm at, and all the activities that I try to do. And so, you know, kind of the intangible that I really tried to push was the idea that I'm always here to be an asset for those around me, right? And the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to help others. I wanted to do that in whatever way was possible, whatever format, whatever medium was available to me. And I kind of paired that with something else that I always prided myself on, which is my ambition and my work ethic. And so I think as an applicant, the biggest thing for you to do is to really just maintain that perseverance, that persistence, like Renee said, and try to build up those intangibles. The reality is that a lot of people in the world, a lot of people who are applying the same area as you are going to have the same tangible statistics. They're going to have the same GPA, maybe even better. They're going to have the same ACT scores, SAT scores, maybe even better. They're going to have better extracurriculars, like those crazy, what was it, the science Olympiad, the AMCs and all that stuff. But not everyone is going to have this unique quality and characteristic traits that you might have, right? You guys might be someone who's really special because you can do something that the person next to you can't, right? And for me, I thought the thing that I brought to the table that other people might not have near me was the work ethic. I prided myself on, I never thought I was the smartest person. I often always told myself, this guy's probably smarter than me, this guy's probably smarter than me. Everyone around here is smarter than me, but the way that I'm going to make myself successful is I'm going to work harder than every single one of them combined. Right? And so I think that when you're going into the college application process, the biggest thing is, it's a mental struggle. It's a battle. And it's almost every day I was like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? Am I just doing this because my mom and dad told me to, or am I actually doing this because I want to do this? Right? And so going into it, I suggest and honestly I implore you guys to figure that out early. Start thinking about that now. Before you write an essay, before you do anything, I urge you, just sit down for a second. If you want to talk to your parents about it, if you want to talk to a friend about it, a mentor, a peer, just think about why are you doing this? What is it that you want this to do? Because ultimately, college is a stepstone. It's a stepstone to doing something great, right? You don't want to peak or plateau at college. You don't want to just take the 4 years and just plateau from there on. No, you want to take those 4 years and keep building yourself up, and you want to get higher and higher, right? And the way that you can do that is to understand that you have to seek it out in a certain way, right? You can't go into college, you can't apply to college just thinking, oh, this is just an obligation I have to do. This is something that I just have to do because my mom and dad want me to do it. No, this is something that you're doing because you want to further yourself and you want to better yourself in a certain aspect, whatever career that may be. Whether you want to be a doctor, whether you want to be a lawyer, an engineer, whether you want to be something crazy like an astrophysicist. These are all things that are going to build you up, and so you have to go into it expecting that. Right? So the biggest thing, and I know it's hard, I know there's people out there who don't figure out what they want to do until the end of their senior year, right? Until that deadline is 2 weeks away. Or there's people who know they want what they want to do, from the second they step foot in middle school. And I was one of those kids. I've always wanted to be a lawyer since, when was it, Mom? Like 5th grade, 6th grade, something like that. I don't know, I watched a bunch of K-dramas and I told my parents one day, like, oh, I want to be a lawyer, and I've stuck with that since then. And it's come to fruition, and I'm blessed. I'm lucky that I had that kind of resolve to be able to set on that path from day one and stick to it. But there's certain people who don't have that, and there's a lot of people, and it's not a bad thing whatsoever. Right? In all honesty, it gives you options. It gives you a lot of different variables and factors to take into account. And so, there is no one set path. When you're going into the college application, there is no one set path. It's a very multifaceted process. There's different things that you have to take into account, different things that you have to be able to do. And that's why, like Renee said, it's really important to be able to do a lot of the different things. Right? Now, it's also good to be really good at a few things and really focus on that, but also try to dabble in a lot of the other things, a lot of the small things. And so, something that my dad always taught me, or always told me, especially this year in the college application process, was, don't just be like a one-sided stuff, right? You want to be someone who can do a lot of the different things, someone who can provide their value in multiple different aspects, multiple different facets, right? Ultimately, something that one of my mentors taught me as I was applying is that applying to college is very similar to like a business-like situation, right? Now, let's say college is a business. College is one of those big fishes in the market, right? And you're just a small fish in the market, and you're trying to sell a product. And that product that you're trying to sell is yourself. Now, you want colleges to buy that product, and you want colleges to buy into you as a product. How are you going to do that? You have to make yourself valuable. You have to make yourself stand out, and you have to prove to them why it is that they should buy into your product. Why should I invest in you? Why should they take you into their college? Why should they provide you with their assets? And why should they help nurture your growth? Right? And so that's when you take your tangibles. That's when you take your statistics, your SAT score, whatever it is, your GPAs, your awards, your extracurriculars, your volunteer hours, all that stuff, the sports you played, the music instrument you played, all that. You take all that and then you combine it with your intangibles, the leadership qualities you provide. The different assets and experiences that you can bring to the table. And that's when you put it all together, coalesce it all into one, and build your portfolio. You curate what it is that you are as a person, what it is that you bring to the table, and you put that all into one, and you put that all into the application. Now the good thing is, the application isn't just one essay and one list of activities. No, it's a multifaceted process, like I said. There's essays, there's interviews, it's countless different things, right? And so you have so many opportunities to express that. Now, there is a lot of struggle in it, right? There might be some people who are really good at writing, but they can't speak very well, so that they wouldn't be too good in an interview setting. There might be people who are the opposite. There might be people who aren't good at both, right? Maybe, unfortunately, maybe you're affected by a disorder that, hinders you from being able to, speak as well. The thing is that every single person has a unique asset to themselves that the others around them don't. And so it's your goal, and it's your job, honestly, to try and find that. To try to find what is, that thing that I bring to the table. What is the number one thing that makes me who I am? And once you apply to colleges, knowing what that is, and using that to your benefit, and honestly, exploiting that asset that you provide, that's when colleges, big fishes in the market, see your value, and they start running after you. That, I want this guy. I want this guy. This is the type of person I want at my table. This is the type of person I want in my community, right? And, another thing that I want to emphasize is that a lot of people think that you go to college purely on an academic basis. And what I mean by that is a lot of people think that you only go to college to study. But the reality is that when you're going to college, you're going into another community. You're living in another community. You're not in with your parents anymore. You're not, sheltered in their house. You're not, taking their car rides to public school or private school anymore. No, you're living in that college's community, in that campus. You're surrounded. Everything you do is in affiliation with that college campus, right? So when you're applying, you have to convince the reader, the people who work at that college, that you belong there. Not only that you belong at that academic institution, but that you also belong in that community, in that area, and that you deserve to be there because you fit in there. Now, for me, when I applied to Penn, the reason why I applied to Penn, before I explain that, when I was first going into the process, my dream schools were Stanford and Yale. So every single day I would tell my mom that, I'm going to Stanford, I'm going to Yale, I'm going to apply there. Those are my top choices. I was going to EA to Yale, and I was writing the essays. I think I wrote half of one essay and then I quit. I was like, no, I don't like these essays. I don't like the problem. It doesn't feel right to me. And the reason why I EA'd to Penn was my mom suggested that I do it. And at first I said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to apply there. And then I started looking into it. I started looking into Penn as an institution and beyond as an institution, but also as a community. And I realized that's exactly the place that I want to be in. That's the exact type of place that's not only going to benefit me, but I'm also going to be able to benefit that place. And so I decided to apply to Penn, and I don't regret it. Obviously I don't regret it at all. And one of the biggest things that I think, attributed to that, to my ability my acceptance into the university was just the fact that there's an intangible, sense of belonging for me in that community. It's so historically deeply rooted. It's so, it's so aligned and so strong in the fields that I want to study. And it's also just an area that I would love to live in. And so I really focused on those different aspects in all of my essays, in all of my interviews. I always repeatedly, almost annoyingly stated that, and I tried to put that in every single sentence that I ever spoke. Like, this is the exact type of community that I want to be in. This community would really build me up, and I would be able to build up this community. This community would do so much for me, and I would be able to do so much for this community. That's exactly why I feel like, it really pushed me to be able to gain acceptance. And so, when you guys are applying to colleges, I think the biggest thing is not just to apply to the college for its name or its value on a piece of paper, or the value that it holds when it's spoken to your friends or mentors or peers. I think it's something, you should apply to the college if it has value to you. Why do you want to go to that institution? And, like I said, I want you guys to sit down and think about, why are you doing this? And then after you figure out why you're doing this, figure out why do you want to do this at this place? Why do you want to do this in this community, this setting? Right? And then once you put those all together, kind of like a puzzle, then you submit the application. And once you put that in, trust me, something good will come out of it. Right? Let's say you do all that, and you find the perfect institution for you, you find the perfect college. Let's say, you guys want to go to Penn, and you guys think you guys are perfect for Penn, and you guys apply to Penn, but then Penn rejects you and refers you. The biggest thing there is that you don't give up. And I just said that no matter what happens, you gain something from it. And that's completely true. Because although you got rejected, let's say, and let's hope that doesn't happen, right? And maybe I could improve my application in this point, or this aspect, or this facet. Maybe I could have bolstered this part, or talked more about this part of my personality, or the thing I did here. Right? And then you get to improve from there. And then you get to research more about other institutions and figure out what other institutions bring you what kind of value, or what kind of value you can bring to that institution. Right? So it's a complicated process. Right? There's no one right way to do it. And I think that's great, but also very difficult at the same time. Because the thing about college is that you have to find the college that you think you fit into. And that can be hard. Right? Everybody wants to go to the top schools, right? Everybody wants to go to an Ivy League, but some people might not necessarily fit into any of the Ivies. Right? And so, the biggest thing that I want to urge is that when you're going into this process, it's good to keep an open mindset. Don't be too tunnel vision into thinking that you have to go to Harvard or Yale, or you have to go down, this predetermined path that all the most successful people in the world have gone down. No, there's plenty of people, I forget, one of the panelists said that there's plenty of people who have gone the route of, community college and then transferring to another school and then transferring to another school. There is no predetermined path to success. And we're seeing that more and more and more recently with some of the top biggest entrepreneurs in the world, who a lot of them are saying, yeah, I dropped out of, college or high school, or I went to this college and it wasn't, a top college in the world. Right? And so, really the biggest thing is when you're going into the college application process, and I think I've said this maybe 50 times already, is really just keep an open mindset, right? Really just make sure that you know what you're doing, and you know why you're doing it, and you know how you're going to do it. And then once you coalesce all those pieces together, from there, it's only going to take you further and further and further. So, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, so the major that I applied for is called PPE. It's philosophy, politics, and economics, and then I'm on a pretty long path. And so it's very similar to Senator Min, who was up here earlier, who also attended Penn, and I talked to him briefly. He said he was in the same major for a number of months. And so, yeah, it's a very interdisciplinary major with a lot of courses to do that.
One more thing is, how many recommendations are in
Yeah, so I think definitely recommendation letters are so important because it also lies into that intangible aspect. The thing about recommendation letters that's so important is that it gives the reader an outside perspective on who you are as a person. It builds your persona, builds your portfolio, and it builds your profile on who you are. And it's, there's only so much that you can say about yourself. But then once you add that recommendation letter to the aspect, now you have a side of someone else talking about you. So it's kind of like getting a third opinion. It's like, in a legal trial, it's not just one side or one-side battles. There's multiple different aspects that go into it. There's multiple different pieces of evidence that go into it. And So I had 3 recommendation letters, and I tried to get them from a number of different people. And so the reason why I did that is just so I can get them a wide array of people who are assessing my persona. Well, 2 of them were my teachers, and then 1 was there was a volunteer service that I worked at. She's the president of that organization. So they were all able to give different opinions.
What was so
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is that UPenn is so deeply historically rooted. It was founded by Benjamin Franklin, who was one of the founding fathers. There's just so much history in the area. It's a huge city area with so much history behind it and just so much room for opportunity and improvement and growth. And so, going into the college application process, I was like, I have a number of imperfections and flaws. I'm not a perfect student or a person in any aspect. And so being in a city like that, an area like that would provide me with so much opportunity. And so I was like, this is somewhere I want to be, somewhere I can see myself.